Okay, and we're recording. As always, I'm Brian Kynes, the creator of the Tales of Ulran campaign setting. We use Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition to tell our story, and the awesome folks that are around me today help me write the book one chapter at a time. Let's go ahead and start off with introductions, and then we'll jump into it.
All right. I go first. I'm Corey. I play Darius, who is a little wet, smells like stinking dog, but it's not my fault right now.
It's true. It's true.
That's it. Next.
Jeremy.
I am Jeremy. I'll be playing Merc. Merc is a human paladin who is currently not of the mortal coil, and he pilots a seraphim, which is basically brought down to being angelic battle armor.
That's true. We've called it all kinds of things. It's based on Warforged. We've called it celestial construct, but angelic battle armor. That's a new one. I like it. That's not bad.
As of D&D Beyond, that's the magic item. The
Nice,
angelic
right? Yeah,
battle
yeah.
armor.
That's good stuff. Okay, moving forward. Go ahead.
My name's Colby, and I'll be playing Skull Tusk, who is a barbarian slash ranger that is human, and he's an Aladi warrior.
A native to this place, and a really cool take on a combination of ranger and barbarian traits into one class. It's really, really fun stuff. And last but certainly not least, the new person.
Such a strange thing to introduce yourself. So I'm like trying to get the
New
vibe.
person. Right on.
The new person. I am Bella or Belle. I'm taking over Scylla, the Avian Skylancer, slash Maiden of Song Bard thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
pretty much, right? and thank you for taking that on. We appreciate it. There's a lot of great story to be told with her. And from what we've been doing the last couple of days and working on the background of Silowin and really fleshing out some origins here, as just a person that enjoys this game and the storytelling of it, I'm excited to see what happens. I think this is going to be nice. So, 2 weeks ago, no shit, maybe almost 3. It's been a while. It's been a minute, folks. Okay. We ended the episode with us kind of defeating this assault pack of Vasilian. We call them Vasilian, but they're actually what D&D would call lizard folk. Vasilian's just a way they're named here in these lands. And a decent enough battle, got into some pretty awesome stuff. That last round of combat, man, you guys were just kicking ass, pulling out all kinds of awesome moves and shit. I was a proud papa, man. It was awesome. It was really fun. I even went back and watched it. It's good shit. Okay. At the dramatic end of it, and I was trying to get it done because it was like we played to like 11. It was ridiculous. I was trying to go a little fast to get through the end of it, and Corey's like, "No, wait. I've got something I want to do." And we're like, "Okay, please indulge us." And with that, he began to change, take on this hybrid form, chase down and knocked one of these creatures, these Vasilian, into these flooded streams, and then wasn't done. And then went in after the character, and that's how we kind of ended that, was him submerged underneath there to see what was going on with this creature and chasing after it. Because we're introducing a new but not new character, I've asked a couple of different folks that are in the group if I could take 10 minutes to take over for just a moment with the characters and present the next few moments of action that happen to get us moved forward in the right direction. So if you guys wouldn't mind, I'll go ahead and take the time to do that now. I hope you enjoy this little thing. I've talked to some of you about what you might have done in this situation. This is one of those very finely tuned, edited kind of things that everything has to kind of work together to make it happen. So I apologize. I promise I'll give you the keys back here in just a few minutes, okay? So,
Don't scratch it.
right on, right. So, I'll start with Corey. I'll start with Darius. As he goes up underneath of the water, and he's grabbing onto this Vasilian creature, which is all but pretty much spent. This thing was beat all to hell and back. Okay? He pulls it up out of the water ferociously and slams its weakened body down on the bank with just enough life left in it to answer questions. Corey had told me that Darius really wanted to leave one of these enough to question it. I'm cool with doing that in this instance. And as he does, and he's sinking in the clawed hands, still struggling to maintain this rage that has come upon him, something that until now he's really tried to keep out of the spotlight, for unknown reasons, really. As he viciously asks the creature, how many of you are there? Where are you from? What is the goal here? Why are you tracking us? The creature coughs up a little bit of that poisoned blood that we found out they have coursing through their veins as it comes out of the side of the Vasilian's mouth. And as it looks up to him and blinks with those weird eyelids that go sideways like we discussed, it utters out a word. The problem with the word is it's nothing that you would typically hear in our language. But as it's dying, between its sharpened teeth and its pointed tongue, the Vasilian that lays on the bank underneath of Darius's grasp says, Tareto Khan. And does what almost looks like a sinister laugh, which is very strange, Darius, because of the cold nature of these animals. It's very weird for them to do anything that would seem human or seem really common sense to us. This is a very strange act. And as it's saying that and chuckling in those last moments, you find yourself looking up and taking a deep breath, looking around left and right, worried about what he's talking about. In that moment, as the rest of you are trying to rush over to see what has happened in this situation, all you see is the a little bit more muscled back and the little bit longer hair of Darius with this creature on the bank. The tree line shakes viciously as another one of those flock of those large tropical birds seems to erupt from the tree line into the dense fog that's rising up because of these torrential rains and how humid the place is. As they pierce through, there's not even the moment to think. Colby, your character, Killtusk, looks over and you see one final sorcerer of these Vasilian. You and Bastille, Danny's character, caught wind of this thing speaking and saying words, and although you caught the one sorcerer that was over on the side, there was still that whisper in the air that you guys were not able to locate. But now that the battle has died down and this tree and this ground has shaken, you fear the worst. You remember that this Vasilian tribe are able to not only somewhat herd and shepherd certain dinosaurs that are very typical of this place, but sometimes they're able to summon them and control them, almost like tortured instruments of their own destruction. Okay? And then that moment, with your keen eyes, you look out into the tree line and you can see the imagery scratched down in the forest floor where that sorcerer had been drawing some kind of pattern up while we were entertained by what now you're realizing were just a distraction of Vasilian warriors. And out of the tree line seems to convulge and to draw together, almost like it's been formed like a ghost out of smoke. One of these large, con-like T-Rex versions of these dinosaurs. Do you guys remember what these things actually look like? I had a picture of them before. Does everybody remember what that was? They look like a T-Rex, but they are multicolored with oranges and blues and whites, with large horns that come out of the side of their jawline and the back of their head, and one of these things come into existence no more than 50 yards from the group, as if it's been summoned here by like a conjure monster spell, only albeit a very primitive and very real one. Okay? In that moment, the creature draws back and roars. You can actually see the breath of this thing bend the falling rain and slap it away as a blast of sonic air comes on top of all of you and shooting towards the hunting cabin that we've been trying to find this whole time. In that moment, some new faces appear that come out of the hunting cabin. I'll take this moment to explain to you what some of these Atladi warriors look like as they exit the place to do battle with this creature that's been summoned upon them. Okay? The first person you see that peeks out of there is a large axe beak. Does everyone know what the bird an axe beak in D&D looks like? It almost looks like a large dodo bird and ostrich, but they have this really prehistoric axe-like beak. They're a white and off ivory kind of colored feathers. It is being ridden by what looks like to be a cleric of the Atladi warriors. Whereas Shikoma, which is the leader of the Atladi warriors, was much more warrior woman and very strong-jawed and tribal-like. This in particular person seems to be a lot more, the word isn't fashionable, but just a lot more focused on appearance and the trinkets and the ceremony that went into preparations of her, the beads in the hair, the long flowing robes, although primitive but beautiful for what they are. As she comes striding out on the back of this axe beak, she runs in front of the place, goes by Darius's character as he still has the Vasilian onto the ground, and puts her hands up and begins a prayer that has a shining like visible shield of protection that seems to cover the group. Okay, she is starting the process of doing that. Directly after, this cleric of the Atladi warrior comes out of the group, of the building. Two more figures arise. One is a small female, probably the age of 15, 16. Maybe 5'5", 5'6", but her eyes are a solid white, with no pupils, a clean-shaven head, and more paint and markings on her than you've ever seen on Killtusk. As you know, he's used to painting these different designs on him by fire at night. This particular character seems to be covered with them from head to toe. She is scantily clad, which is typical for the people of this place. And she comes out riding on a very large looking jaguar type creature that is very strong in the upper body. But where its whiskers would be, there are long tentacles. They resemble what look like are on the back of the displacer beast in this place. But instead of it coming from the back of this creature, they're coming out as tentacles along the side of the face, and they hover in the air behind it as if it's underwater. As this young person comes out riding on this large jaguar-like creature, the two tentacles seem to start to hover, and the white eyes glow, and this paint starts to come off in the rain as this young, almost scion, like looking at Laddie Warrior, starts to say words that echo in a very strong, dominant female voice as she's taking her hand and she's smearing the paint off of the different markings on her and activating all kinds of things all at once. As you're seeing her do this, the Tyrannosaurus shakes its head back and forth as its eyes start to go over and glaze white as well, as if it's having some kind of effect on the creature's mind. Okay? In that instant, the creature fights it off and turns around and slams its tail up against this protective film that this cleric that riding the axe beak has started to perform, but it isn't finished. It hasn't been long enough. And as the tail comes smashing through, you can see almost spectral pieces of glass seem to fall and shatter, breaking into glistening things of almost like what would be like fairy fire that erupt from the ground where the pieces of glass fall. In that moment, you see Bastille misty step into the scene and grab on and try to protect this person that has just been smacked by the tail as the axe beak goes flying sideways and lands up against a tree and lands in a tangled mess, obviously very hurt from the tail lash. The cleric lays some 5 foot from the area of impact face down. Bastille flashes in and out, as he does with the Misty Step ability very much, and grabs onto the body and grabs it by the neck. At this moment, things are moving in slow motion for all of you, almost like when you see a movie that depicts a war scene, and everything's kind of muffled and silent, but everything seems to be moving slow, almost like everyone's mind is somewhat traumatized by this. The heavy rainfall, the loud roar of the Tyrannosaurus, the T-Rex, the battle that's still ringing in our ears. Our hearts are still beating from everything that went on. Corey, I saw you raise your finger just a minute ago. Was there something you wanted to add, sir? Okay. In that moment, you see Brahmas march from across the water. And as he does, he raises up his hands. As he brings his arms together like this, you see phantasmal angelic wings form from behind his back. And as they come and close together in front of him, as they pop off and dissipate, there is a large force wall that seems to look like some kind of ancient Mechon technology that is transparent, blocking in front of Bastille and the fallen cleric. Bastille speaks out louder than normally. Bastille's voice is usually whispered, like, "I have to get her out of here. Can you hold it?" In that moment, Brahmas' head is turned sideways and says, "I'll hold it for as long as I can. Get them out of here." Brahmas, you can hear the body shift as if stones being grinded as he gets ready to hold his position, getting ready for the blow to come from the T-Rex. As its mouth now, as it's spun back around, its mouth is starting to open up, getting ready to come down with one large bite. As it does, the teeth grab onto the force wall, beginning to break through it. You can see virtual cracks forming in this thing as you can see the lights and the engines built into this construct's body begin to glow and radiate that light blue color as if it's straining against it, as Jeremy activates an overdrive, trying to add to his strength score and be able to hold this force shield up even longer. But that's all the time that the young scion needed. In that moment, you see the eyes close now to you, Brahmas, as the mouth and its teeth are right there as you're trying to hold them back. And you can see the eyes begin to glaze over again as the creature pulls its head back as if it's had something happen to its mind again. The scion becomes louder and louder until the words almost hurt your all's ears. As it does, it takes one final piece of paint from its leg and wipes it down and holds up a hand that is red and blue with thick colors of paint, and holds up the hand, takes it, wipes it down its own face, and the little young scion screams in the direction of the T-Rex. As it does, you can see that white-eyed look that it has transfers completely over to the T-Rex. With that, an almost like phantasmal white smoke, almost like a fog, begins to roll out of its mouth, out of its nostrils. It starts to shake, and you can hear things going on inside the body of this creature. It is being racked with pain. As it stands up on its two legs, wailing around its two smaller ones, back and forth and thrashing through the trees in pain, it begins to dissipate, much like the way you guys saw it come into existence. Okay? As it fades back into whatever realm it was summoned from, what we have left in front of us is Brahmas, somewhat exhausted from the fight, letting the force shield down. Bastille has taken this cleric at Laddie and teleported over to the side, closer to the shed. Okay? But there's one thing in this that we didn't notice. Is what happened to Silouan. In the moment of that psionic blast that the young Atladi girl was emitting up towards the T-Rex's head, Silouan, seeing that Brahmas was in trouble and peril from the T-Rex biting down on this force shield and him having to strain against it, took herself and she ran over, leapt off the side of a fallen tree in a grouping of rocks, which is actually on the map, which was pretty nice. When I looked at the map, I was like, oh, that's the perch, that's it. And she jumped up and tried to perform one of her lance attacks. But as she came down and was getting ready to strike on top of the neck and head of this creature, which its head was now somewhat low because it was biting onto that force shield, she was caught in the blast from the Scion. As the creature dissipates, Merc, through Brahmas's eyes, you can see the body of Silouan laying face down in the deepened marsh-like terrain, the lance at least 15 foot from her, as normally she would never lose it. The helmet knocked off, the almost platinum blonde hair washed over, laying to the side. She lays motionless on the ground, obviously caught in the blast. And with that, I'll give the keys back over to you all. I would like to start with Darius, because I kind of cut him off the quickest here. Darius, in that moment where these things happened, what would you like to do? I will say that this Vasilian has a very minimal to no amount of hit points left. As it has said this, it seems to have cackled, knew this creature was on its way, like it had accomplished its goal. You're on the muddy banks, you're seeing this stuff go down in front of you, and as soon as the creature is screamed at and dissipated, I'll let you take it there. And you are muted, sir. And if you're not sure and you want a minute to think about it, we can go around. It's up to you.
Yeah, I'm just because if it all happened in a split instance,
It was quick.
Like I imagine Darius would mostly be pretty stunned, and seeing that there's other creatures coming out of the woodworks. He kind of thinks like, well, maybe there's other people to question, so he would just kind of like rip the throat out of this one.
Okay, just for the hell of it, roll me an attack.
That would be.
I'll give you advantage on it because you have it prone and grappled.
Okay, so that would be.
DM's being nice.
23.
23 would normally hit and breach this creature. So paint me a picture. What's it look like?
Yeah, I mean, I just imagine like the creature makes the comment, and all of a sudden this quick abruptness happens, and Darius is just thinking, I don't know how many else are coming, but we don't want higher numbers, so he's just gonna rip the thread out of this one, um, and kind of um, like rush towards the action. Um, so I'd imagine he's kind of like partially there, about the point that the explosion or whatever the happens, and he would be kind of like taken aback, knowing that he has no idea what that is, and he's not going to get close enough to it to see. Um, but he wants to, like, I do a late, like, a scan of the area to
Roll me a
see,
perception check.
yeah, like if I can see if anyone's.
I'll let you know what you see.
That would be a 19.
You see that this T-Rex-like creature, whatever he called it, Vokilikon. Now that I can remember what the hell I named it, it's a Vokilikon. Was what that lizard folk, that Vasilian, named this thing. And you can see it is completely faded back into just like a summoned creature spell. It has been vanquished. But you also do see Silouan's body as well. With a 19, you know that the other sorcerer that was doing this summoning circle while we were distracted, you don't see what direction they went off in. This terrain isn't your natural thing, but we'll get to that with Kill Tusk here in just a few minutes. But you were able to see it is gone. The threat seems to be over for the moment, but you also see Silouan laying out there probably about 20-25 yards out in front of you. If you remember where the map was, it would be south of that. Yeah.
So then I would say he would then be rushing as quickly as possible in that direction, because he does have a life debt to pay, so to speak.
If you say so. Yeah.
Well,
I mean, no, I get it. That's cool.
Yeah. So
Okay.
Silouan, for those who have watched the previous episodes, Silouan, with the help of others, but Darius only saw Silouan reach in and pull him out of the abyss, so to speak, and so he'll rush over there. I'd assume because he was probably the furthest out when it happened.
I'm
So I
thinking
would probably
so.
get there even with a well, I wouldn't be able to dash because I had to action rip the dude's throat out. So I'd get there probably after Brahmas or someone else. So I'll jump into that role play when that happens.
Awesome. Thank you. I appreciate it. Very nice. And I do want to mention, too, people watching this, one of the reasons why I did that the way I did it was it helps introduce the new character. It creates that theatrical moment that can only happen in like movies and awesome stories. But I know, like, as everyone's sitting there patiently letting me tell this, which I hope, did you guys enjoy that to a degree, that scene? Was that okay? Okay. Everyone's thinking, but dude, I have initiative. But I have a range of 60 foot for this. I know everyone's like going, no, I'm not letting this fucking happen. That's why I had to do what I had to do. I had to make a little bit of story here to get us moving forward, and I hope you guys can forgive me. But I was trying to do it for entertainment purposes. Okay?
Yeah, but if you think about it too, like even with initiative, that would have been a new battle, which would have been a new initiative.
True.
That was a surprise round, so we couldn't have done anything. So it happened literally like it would have happened in game. It just we didn't have to sit here and go, what would I do?
Right, yeah, and I appreciate that, dude. Corey having my back as always, man. And just before we, I don't want to get lost on it too much here, but me and Corey talked about this, and he was like, "Man, maybe you might want to make a video and put this up in the downtime that we have, and ask everyone, hey, watch this video before we go in." And it was a great idea. And we talked about this, and I enjoyed that conversation. It was awesome. And when I thought about it, first off, if people are watching this video, I want them to see it as the beginning of this. I want it to be the intro. And two, I got busy. I got busy on them last 3 weeks. So I hope this wasn't you guys just sitting there and being like, come on, Brian, what the fuck? I just hope you enjoyed it, and now we'll move forward. So, but I appreciate the chat, Corey. It was good stuff. With that, let's go ahead and move next to Brahmas and Merc and what you're doing in that moment, as now I will say you're just now bringing the force shield down. What is the actual name of that, Jeremy?
I think we called it Arcane Fortress.
Arcane Fortress, dude. Way better than Force Shield. I like it. All right, I'm
I had
trying. I was
never
doing a lot of shit.
once thought that he'd grow the celestial wings out to be the shield.
I just kind of made
That's
it up.
it. That's going forward. That's it.
Thank you, buddy. Okay. I tried to do you justice. I was trying to incorporate the Valkyrie in a little bit and give you some flavor, and there you are, man. Write it out. So,
Love it.
with that, you've broken it down, and you feel like you have really put a strain not only on Merc on the inside, your heart's beating. These are new things. You're starting to feel more human and more of your own will than you have in years. Between the beard, between actually, you feel sweat and stress as you're inside operating this. And you know that you pulled off some shit with Brahmas and pushed him with those overdrives just now to the limit to be able to hold that up for as long as you did. What is it you're doing in this moment, sir?
Once he gets straightened up and sees Sylvan, all caution goes to the wind.
Okay.
He realizes in that moment that there's nothing more important to him than her being okay.
Yeah.
And in that moment, he's going to do something I don't think anybody here has seen him do yet.
I like it.
Merc is coming out of Brahmas.
You're the
So what
fucking
you're going
man.
to see is as Brahmas stands up and his body goes rigid, you're going to see a light that glows all over the construct before the light goes down from his feet to a circle in front of him.
Looks like a
And-
spell circle on the ground. Yep.
Yep. And from there, Merc is going to step out of Brahmas into that circle and mad dash
Okay.
to get to Sylvan.
Colby, I want you to keep this in mind. Kill Tusk is seeing this shit. You are seeing a mortal step out of this thing, which your people have considered almost like a deity in a way. You know, this is C-3PO to the Ewoks, buddy. You know what I'm saying? And now you're seeing a spiritual, the soul of this construct step out. And could you, Jeremy, please, for the first time, describe to everyone what Merc looks like that haven't seen him before?
So what you're going to see,
Celestial form, right?
right?
Okay.
Yeah, his celestial form. He's wearing very outdated armor. It is for any history buffs would recognize that this armor is from a long time back.
Old Gemdar.
Yeah.
Signs of the black and gold and the hawk on one shoulder and things like this is infantry shit back in
Yeah.
the day.
And from the hawk is basically like a clasp from that's holding a cloak off of one shoulder. And he's got kind of unkempt, slightly dark hair. And he's got a slight beard. Stands about what would we say, about 6 foot, 6.5, something
Whatever
like that.
you want, bud.
Yeah, I think it was like 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah, he was
something
tall. He was tall.
like that.
Okay. And when you step out in your celestial form as Brahma stands there, the celestial house, what is it that Merc is now doing? As you're
Merc
seeing
is-
this also, Darius, you saw that Merc has stepped out of Brahmas now and is going towards Silwan in celestial form, the soul.
As soon as he materializes into that circle, he immediately takes off to go after Sylvan, grabbing her spear on the way if he can.
I will say you can. And with the next words that you say, and I know this is heavy acting, it's all good, but I'm into it. Whatever you choose to do and say here, I will say just for fun and no pressure, the better the performance, the better I will give you a bonus on your charisma to be able to either reach her, wake her, whatever it is you're wanting to do here, your performance is going to dictate the role. So when you get to her with lance in hand, because you know that's important to her now, what is it you're doing?
First thing he's going to do is he's going to put her lance in the ground, standing straight up.
Sweet.
And he's going to use as much oomph as he can to try to ground that thing. And
Roll
He's
strength
gonna-
check real quick, just for him.
it's 12 plus. Yeah.
4 for proficiency. And then strength bonus, right?
Yeah, so it's going to be 12, 16. Yeah, 16 and stuff.
Okay. 16.
So,
And the thing is, what's great about that is, you're not Brahmas, you're Merc.
yeah.
So
And
this is
I
yeah.
even thinking that it's almost like how you get used to picking up heavy boxes,
That's
and
where I'm
suddenly
at.
suddenly come to a light one, and you just kind of
Yeah,
chuck it.
yeah,
I
with
want to
you.
say like it almost maybe even an opposite effect. Like he's so used to having no effort to strength that now he's not as strong. It might be just like catch him off guard a little bit.
That's awesome. Okay,
But
what's next, bud?
you're going to see him reach down, and he's going to put one head under her head and kind of prop her up a little bit and try to set her up against her spear and kind of brace her. And he's going to have, once he's got her steady, he's going to have one hand on each side of her, on her shoulders, just shaking her ever so gently, just silhouette.
Okay, so what do you want this to be? You want this to be medicine? You want this to be persuasion? You want this to be charisma? You tell me. You sell it to me, and I'll let you roll what you want to roll here, bud.
I don't think it'd be persuasion to try to get her to come to.
I don't either, but if you would have tried to sell it to me, I'd have went with it. I was just wondering.
Are you awake?
Yeah, right. Talk to me. Let's reason this out. As she's laying there. Yeah. It'd been
Yeah.
What's it? Is he?
Could I?
Go ahead. Corey, did you have a
Hey.
question? What was it?
I was just curious.
Yeah.
Like, so he's in a celestial form right now.
Somewhat.
That's
Yes.
what you said, right?
Yes.
So is this like a Azamar celestial type of vibe, or?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So still humanoid looking. Because I'm just trying to gauge like as he come out of the.
If you think not angel, but like honorary angel.
Yeah. So lit up eyes and stuff like that, but not like.
Like a slight tinge of that. This is something that
Okay.
is holding on to the material realm with not the strength of a full-on celestial. Not at all.
Okay, because I was just trying to gauge like Darius is running up, and he's getting intercepted, so to speak,
Yeah, I
by
think-
this.
Think Holy Ghost.
And never. Yeah, well, what I'm saying is Darius has never seen him out of that
Right.
construct, right?
Right.
But at the same time, Solomon and Brahmas seem to know each other, so Darius would assume this person coming out of that construct is trying to assist. So I wouldn't think Darius would want to intervene, but would definitely, like, if it seems like he's having trouble, Darius would throw out a healing word.
Awesome.
So I want to give him the chance what his character would be able to do, and if it doesn't seem to be working, Darius will immediately.
Fuck yeah. Let's keep that on board. So let's do your roll. I'll let him see how you're doing, and then we'll add that flavor into it. I like how it's going. Go ahead, Jeremy.
I would like to do kind of a lay on hands, but at the same time possibly do like a religion.
Okay, so let's do, if you want to do a lay on hands, let's do it like we do a spell. Roll 1d20 to see the potency of the lay on hands.
18.
Okay, you know what I mean, like how we do, and everything. And if you want to add your religion or some kind of bonus onto that based on another skill, I'm good with it.
So I rolled an 18. That's
Add
not
stuff
counting
to
any
it.
spell modifier.
Yeah, I mean,
spell
yeah, if you-
modifier.
But just so I know, count it up a little
Uh,
bit for me so I get a gist of how badass this is, sir. And
Alright, so-
I like how Jeremy's face lights up in the screen
Yeah.
as he casts his holy spell. Oh, you can't
So-
buy effects like that, sir. That's good shit.
Uh-huh. So I rolled an 18. Modifier is a 4, so 22.
Okay.
And then if you're allowing me to add religion, it's an additional 7, so 29.
God.
So
You know-
and you're laying on hands while you're doing that. Like you have that what is that, paladin does that?
Mm-hmm. Which
Oh,
is
wow.
what Merc is. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So what it is, essentially, he's doing what we do with spells where you roll that d20 instead of just your solid 8. And he got an 18. So this is the high end of the spectrum when this shit goes bad. It's great in this. It sucks when monks hit you with stunning strike with it, though.
I would love to hear what he's saying to Solo, because I feel like with that religion check, that's him saying something to her while he's laying on hands to boost, kind of like, like telling her like to come back and why, right?
So, Jeremy, I will not put the pressure on you of throwing Shakespeare at us, but would you like to give us a tinge if you're comfortable with that?
I would think that as he's doing the lay on hands and saying a prayer, he'd be saying it in celestial,
Okay. Which
and
she
it would
understands.
be, yep,
She knows that
for
language.
that purpose. Because
Okay.
he's hoping, knowing that that's something she knows, knowing that his oath is something very important to him. He's hoping that pouring all of that into her is going to snap her back, as realizing that there's somebody who's familiar and there's somebody there to protect her.
Moving forward, note to know, Bella, is that Celestial, the avian language, is a primitive form of Celestial. If you know one, you get the other. Because of the way, just the backstory, because you know how avians are, we've discussed this. Their language and way of speaking is based off of things they found there, which is based on Celestial. So,
Right.
yeah.
Kind of like, how New Jersey speaks English, but it's a fist fight accent versus Indiana speaks in cornfield.
Well
They're both
played.
English.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, well played. So with that, I will let you, Silouan. I need you to do a Constitution saving throw. You'll do a 1d20 plus your Constitution bonus, and let me know what number it is that you get.
Can she get the +4 from my
and
paladin?
And plus a 4 from your paladin, yes.
So roll a d20.
Yes, and then your Constitution modifier will be right underneath your Constitution score. You'll add that and 4 to this roll.
Let's see, Constitution.
Ramus's celestial defibrillator. I can't say the word.
Defibrillator, yeah.
Let's
Blair.
Do you want me to help you and guide you?
let's see. I
Okay.
rolled a 9.
Okay, your Constitution's on the left-hand side of the screen. It is 15,
Okay, so that's
which gives you a plus
+2.
2, which gets you up to 11, and then you get 4 more because of being within a certain 10-foot radius of a paladin from him,
Okay.
which brings that up to a 15.
Mm.
With a 15, and Darius, you see this, and then Colby, we're going to go to you right after this before we finish this scene up, okay, buddy? You would hear familiar words in the distant dark. As you're laying there, Silouan, the first thing that comes to you are these words, almost as if they're at the long end of a dark hallway, bouncing off of cold surfaces. You can't quite piece it, but you're hearing these things spoken very cleanly and very palely by a familiar voice. Your lance is right here beside you. Can you hear me? Silouan, I need you to let me know if you can hear me. As you're piecing these words together, then the second thing that hits you is a major headache, pain. You see her eyes wince, murk, as the mental blast that she got in the middle of was enough to send a summoned T-Rex back. You see pain, and you would also see her hand naturally go like this, but nothing's in it. As she would move uncomfortably, almost like someone that got knocked out in a professional fight or something like that, might have a jerk or two in her shoulder, but she is not there yet, but she is conscious, she is alive. Okay? Think on that for just a moment.
I was going to say,
Go ahead.
in John, given Merc's constitution, he's only able to stay out for 2 minutes. So when he knows he's getting to that end, he's going to push it to everything that he's got, knowing that it's going to exhaust him beyond belief.
Okay.
But the last act that he's going to have, if he can meet eyes with her, is try to hug her before he disappears.
Awesome. Good job. I want to give Colby just a minute, then we'll finish up with what she does in response to that. I've given her what she knows so far, then we'll go there. Mind you, Bella, when it comes that time, you are almost, I want you to imagine that you're in that dream you're having when you're almost awake. That moment where you're not quite awake yet. The eyes aren't open yet. I'll give you a chance to role play a little bit to what's going on here, okay? I will make it known that you do recognize. Well, we'll do some rolls. We'll do some rolls. Before we get to that, Kill Tusk, sir. As this scene unfolded, and you see that the Scion was able to use the Mind Blast ability that she has, and was able to get inside of the mind of this Vokilikon and drive it away. Your natural instincts kick in. What is it you would like to do in this instance? You have multiple options. Do you have something on your mind, or do you want me to lay out a couple things for you? It's up to you.
I would say that Kill Tusk, knowing what just happened with the T-Rex, would also make sure that Loki's all right. That he's still okay after the Ravager battle, that attack that happened to him. And then he will also be checking on Sakoma to make sure she's all right. And
Okay. And who was the second person you said? I'm sorry, I couldn't understand. You said Loki, and who was second?
Sakoma. And
Thank
if
you.
he's
Okay.
Toyota?
and if Brahmas is between me and Sakoma, right?
We'll say if you want to. Sure. Yes.
Okay. Then I wanted to say, after he turned back around to head Sakoma, he would have saw Brahmas and Mert, and he would be like in an awe state,
Nice.
like seeing like an actual celestial being with his own eyes.
Yeah. Yeah. And remember what we talked about, the things that you found there, the aqueducts, the imagery, the statues, how that came to be. Do you remember a lot of that conversation, Colby?
Mm-hmm.
Imagine what that means to Kill Tusk now, which is awesome. It's going to be great. Yes. Go ahead, Corey.
I can give if Colby wants something to interject with, because I imagine that Darius is going to now put his focus on glaucoma chick, because she I got a smile from someone off that one.
It's all good.
Because obviously the blast come from her. Darius has no idea who that is. That he could tell obviously enough it's someone with Kill Tusk, but he doesn't really know Kill Tusk either. But this person just blasted one of someone who saved him.
The person that blasted was that small Scion-looking person that you've not met yet. With
correct,
the shaved
but
head and the wet eyes. Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong. She has similar looks to the Atlati, right?
She is of that race, yes.
Yeah. So I don't know she's with Kill Tusk, but I know she's something around them. So he wouldn't be like running towards her to kill her. But
That's awesome.
But I imagine he put himself seeing that well, he doesn't know Merc is Merc, but seeing that celestial dude has Solwyn, he put himself in between them and the other group of Atlati, and just kind of yell out like, I don't know who the fuck you are, what the hell you did, but if she dies, you're next.
Okay. Stay with that. I like it. And that's hanging in the air in big hybrid words. And what is your current form right now? We need to talk about that. Are you chilling? Is it's getting awful late, big guy? Or where are we at?
Yeah, I would think that on his way rushing, he would have bonus action went back to normal, because it seems like the action is done, and he wants to keep hidden.
We hope so.
this thing. Yeah, as best as possible. He wants to keep hidden. So, but he sees that there's no creatures, and so as he's rushing back to the party, he would have went to normal. So
Add
he's
to
back
what
to
you
normal.
heard, Silouan, in that darkness, a loud yelling voice as if there's some kind of conflict in the background too, over top of the voice of your common tongue. Okay? I like to add these little bits and you're hearing this going on. Okay? Kiltusk, as you've done that, you got stopped halfway over to Shikoma, which you didn't see much of during this conflict. You saw that Rursi, Rursi, the cleric, was thrown pretty severely off of her axe beak, off of what road, and you see that Bast is over there tending to her. Okay? With finding Loki, are you want to use one of your abilities to locate him and see through his eyes and feel what he's feeling, or are you just looking around to see where he's at?
If I remember right, he was awfully pretty close to me when we did end that battle.
I'm sorry, I couldn't understand you. What'd you say, boss?
I said, if I remember correctly, at the end of the battle, he was pretty close to me.
Yeah, and the thing is, we can base it off that, but we're also improvising a scene. So
Okay.
I'm not going to play this out like Knight to Rook 4 or what, It's okay to move it around a little bit if you'd like to. Explore the space, Colby. It's all good. So if you, because I know where Loki is, but it may not be exactly where he was on the map before this moment happened. So how is it you're trying to identify his location?
I can try to look through his eyes to find it, figure that out.
Okay, you're looking through his eyes?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. As you do, roll me your check, which is your wisdom perception, the one you roll for all your abilities when you're commanding Loki, and let me know what you get. That's one thing I like a lot about D&D 5e. There's a lot of rolls, even when there's no combat in things in the regular scene. That's what makes it nice. You don't feel bored with it. You know what I mean? What'd you get, boss?
26.
Fuck yes, you did. So, you're riding the movies, okay? See, you are in this moment. I will even say this. You're getting senses and emotions from the creature. It is over there looking down at the axe beak that was severely hurt as that Vokilikon whipped its tail through that force field. That Rursi, new names that Rursi was trying to form but didn't have time. The axe beak looks to be pretty messed up, and you are down there and you can see Loki nudging the axe beak with its nose. And Silouan, in case you didn't know, Loki is an Allosaurus-looking dinosaur creature that is Kiltusk's steed. He rides it, and it is his beast companion. The two are practically one. He can almost do like a Beastmaster, kind of see through it. Silouan's seen this and knows this, or maybe not. And Loki is over there trying to nudge awake, and you can feel, and you can hear you can hear all the noises in your head that this creature is making, and you can feel urgency and panic from the creature. Okay, go ahead.
Also have another question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do I know if the leopard is actually one of the warriors? in his
Absolutely.
form, or
You know him very well. You've seen him
Right.
take his shape many times.
yeah, I remember you saying, like when we talked about the rest of the people, that one of them was a druid and might be in the leopard form.
Spoilers, no one else knows this.
Yeah, I was just trying to make sure I'm getting people right.
Right, no, you're perfectly fine. That's right. Okay. So, you saw that. You focused with Loki. You went to walk over to see where Shikoma was. You got stopped by what Brahmas and Merc were doing. And we're going to stop that there for just a moment unless there's anything else you want to add as far as another quick thing. And then we'll move on. Okay? You got anything else, or are you good to pause there for a minute?
I'm good.
Okay. With that, Silouan. That is your name, correct? Silouan. Go ahead and tell me in your best description, after hearing these distant words and hearing people call out, like, so help me God, you're next if you come to harm, you're hearing these things very distant in the darkness, and you feel pain and a deep headache and stuff like that. You are trying to get yourself woke up, and with a decent constitution throw of 15, which pulls off stuff that's better than average. 10 is average shit. 15 is pulling off some pretty cool shit. A 20 is, well, that's amazing. So, but you did a 15. So, go ahead and tell me some thoughts. What you're thinking of what you're hearing, and maybe just a small little scene out of Silouan if you'd like to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So I think that everything is very fragmented currently. You had described almost like a hallway type thing, right?
Yeah.
So I think obviously she hears like the voice of comfort, the voice of somebody familiar. So she's trying to move towards that, and almost like that hallway, it's almost distorted and fragmented, and flashes of faces or events or locations and sound voice clips, like nothing actually clear, but like almost like radio static type thing. But she's like slowly sort of inching her way, but hearing kind of the hostility in the sense that like it's not only safety out there, there's definitely that sort of bit of caution.
Maybe that's why your hand jerked for the spear too. Maybe that plays into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool.
I would think so. There's that sort of like the needing to be on edge thing of it's not completely safe out there, but she's still trying to inch her way over because she doesn't have a whole lot of sources of comfort, and the ones that she does, she hangs on to very tightly. Cool. So I think she's slowly inching her way, and you would think that she could probably open her eyes a bit, right?
I'll go ahead and give you that for 15. And mind you, the last thing you knew, you were coming down, staring at the back of the neck of this thing when all of a sudden, blam.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And you're on the ground. So, I'm going to make it where you were rolled over, mm-hmm. and you would have the celestial form, as described, a hold of your shoulders for just a few more moments here. We'll go through it, Jeremy, okay, when she gets done. And go ahead. I'll say you can crack them open. You can crack them open.
Yeah. So I think like she cracks her eyes, open, but like her kind of facial expression is kind of very neutral at this point. Like eyes like a bit wide, sort of like trying to assess what's around her, and very purposely keeping it very neutral. And then I think as she opens and sees Merc, I think it's safe to say that with all the jumbledness, it's not quite clear. But I think the one thing that she knows for sure, and maybe the one word that comes to mind seeing this person who I think she feels is very familiar, is home. So kind of having that home, having that kind of one word of solidified comfort, I think a smile sort of breaks out on her lips a little bit. Not like a strong smile, like a week of like, shit, I'm kind of hurting right now.
Yeah,
smile.
I get it.
But something with her, it's like, I like the idea of her having like a bit of a tooth gap. So like the previously neutral expression, just like a weak but there smile with the little tooth gap. And then I think she kind of, I think she probably goes in for a hug too, of like a tight sort of thing.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, nice. Okay, with that, Jeremy, you're seeing Silouan through everything that she just went through. You're seeing the distant pieces of what is a very similar person laying there in front of you. And you don't know if this is just her natural reaction or she's doing things like this to comfort you because she knows you worry about her quite a bit. But you're starting to see Silouan come to in the way she just described. I'll give you just another scene here or so as to what you're doing as the arms come out to gently touch on to you, to give you some kind of hug as if to say, whew, yeah, right? So what is it Merc is doing in that moment?
In that moment, he knows that he is about to slip out of reality, basically. So he's going to make the most of it. He's going to hold her and, I'm glad you're okay. Thank you for being okay. And
nice.
about that time, I would say, is when his form starts to weaken.
You would see this, Selwyn, and in this moment, even through your eyes, you realize in that moment, holy shit, we're not in Brahmas right now. You've never really seen, one time you saw Merc able to step out of Brahmas. That was back in the city, when the angel gave him 1 day until nightfall to walk around as a mortal man for bringing the vessel, Brahmas, to the city. As a payment, he let Merc walk around as a mortal for 1 day. You've never seen him take this celestial form and step out of this. And you go through this panic moment for a minute, like, am I dead? Holy shit. And then you realize he's out here with me. You feel the wetness underneath of you. The rain's still coming down, and your senses are starting to kick in, right? And as you see him start to fade, normally, like you said, Jeremy, you know you have so many minutes you can do this. But you see him start to dissipate. He's being sucked back into Brahmas because his time's expired. Roll me a Constitution saving throw, Jeremy.
So 9.
You have level 1 exhaustion. What is that?
If I stay out beyond my
It's
expert my
level
point,
3?
it's level 3.
Okay, I knew it was
And
I knew it was bad.
He knows how taxing it is.
Yeah.
But he didn't care.
I know, and that's what's great about that moment. That's what's great. Now, understand, 2 minutes is a long time in a fight. But 2 minutes of all this shit going is a little different story. Okay? So it's only fair that we do this. And that's going to play in well for later, I hope. You know. So he goes, and you are left laying there. And now you see the spear stuck in the ground, somewhat sturdily, within 1 or 2 foot of your right side of yourself. You feel the ache of the wing where you landed. You feel the headache pounding. Just to put this in perspective for you guys, she took 47 points of psychic damage. Just to paint the picture, I was rolling up here a minute ago when Colby was going through it. Holy shit. It could have been even worse. So that's what we're talking about here. That is what has hit her in this moment. Okay?
Well, she probably feels like she got hit by a metaphorical bus
fucking
right now.
shit got real. It was bad. It was bad. But I like that moment, and it facilitates moving forward. Okay? So, with that, I guess the dust is kind of cleared. Who would like to take the next moment to do something? And then I have a way to kind of round us up and start guiding this again. But does anyone else have anything they want to do in this moment? And you, young lady, yes.
I think I kind of really like the idea of the dissipation of like mid hug. So literally it goes from having it empty there to literally kind of like this and almost like falling forward like a little bit.
Nice.
But I think sort of looking around, like almost like the arms around sort of bit, like looking around, I think everything's still kind of scattered. Like it was Brahma's home, and then as she kind of hugs Merc home, I think as she hugs him, like more of those little tangents are beginning to come back. I don't quite think her area around her is as familiar, so I think she probably like struggles a bit to stand up and cling to the spear as much as possible, like sort of pull herself up and literally like clinging to the spear in the ground. I think she feels her neck and feels like, I would say she has like a little bag, like, and I think she's maybe kind of cautiously looking at everybody else around her.
Okay. In that moment, once you do that, Colby I'll do you with disadvantage, Jeremy, and Darius, you all roll me insight checks, please. Jeremy's doing this at disadvantage because of his suffering of that stuff.
Did you say me too?
I did, yes.
Okay. Just want to make sure I heard you right.
Cross the board. Insight for everybody. Oprah Winfrey, just giving them out. And give me your results. Jeremy's like, not bad. I can see on your face that's awesome. So, who wants to yell out the high number first? Who think they got the highest?
Colby did. He got a nat 20.
Come on, Colby. What'd you get?
19.
14. Ooh.
19.
19. I stand corrected. A little better. All right, who's next? Jeremy, you're grinning.
17.
17. Oh, Corey, what
21.
you got?
21.
Dude, that's fucking... We know who got highest. Okay, those are really, really good across the board. You see Silouan out of sorts. The reaction, and it would have really drawn your attention this moment. And you see her, the best it can be described, guys, from the way you can see her reaction, the hug through Merc, he dissipates. She has that moment. She seems out of sorts, and you know she just got fucking wrecked, right? So, as that's happening, I want to throw in a little bit of something. In that moment, through the silence, Silouan, all of you would see Rowdy, the large dire boar that has the armor still only halfway hanging off of it, that has had battle scars and stuff tore up where it was fighting with displacer beasts. It comes charging by. Silouan, it's like maybe you've never even seen this before. And what would be your initial reaction just in a quick moment to this large dire board? It looks like it's been saddled, has similar paint marks and stuff, but comes running within 20-25 foot of you, comes running past, and there is an Atladi warrior woman on top of it that does not look familiar to you. What is it you're doing?
I think she is trying to get the grip of the lance as much as possible, and then I think she's trying to vault herself backward with as much energy as she can muster.
Roll a dexterity check for me. Just see how it goes.
Okay. Yeah.
Minus 1d4 because of the state you just come out of. So your 1d20 plus your dexterity modifier and your proficiency bonus. So whatever this is going to be, it's going to be plus 8 on your 1d20.
Okay. So the 17
Total?
17. I rolled a 17, and then with the dexterity modifier, that's plus
20.
4.
25. It's 4 and 4 because you're proficient in dexterity.
Okay.
Okay.
So
Real quick
25.
explanation so we know moving forward, and I'm willing to help you because it's a process. So dexterity checks will be done for things like this. And you have a plus 4 to your dexterity because you're fucking awesome, right? Now, you have 2 ability scores that you get to use your proficiency bonus in. That's things that you specifically are good at. That's what a proficiency bonus is. It is that number that raises as you raise in levels that goes towards things that you're skilled with. Yours is, I think, dexterity and charisma. Okay? So anything like that, performing your music, your bard stuff, things like that, dexterity things, which is your finesse weapons and shit, I'll get that bonus. So that would have been a 4 from dex and a 4 from proficiency, total bonus of 8, which is awesome. Okay, now I'm going to roll 1d4 and subtract that from your total because of your condition. And what does that give you?
Oh,
I think it was like, I think even if it's a 4, the lowest you can get is 21.
so 26.
Yeah.
Right?
You're good. Okay. So with that, you're able to vault and move backward defensively. Okay? You guys see this. Kill Tusk. Shakoma is up on top of Rowdy. Okay? And she says to you in your native language, she goes, "Take the other ones to the hut. Now I will track down the Weaver. Come!" And she yells out, "Broxel." She goes, "Come, Broxel." And as she says that, you see this large jaguar-like creature that the Scion was riding on with the large, almost displacer beast-like tentacles for the whiskers, come running up beside the dire beast. Okay? And it, the dire boar, and Shakoma take off bolting off into the forest to stop the Weaver, the thing that summoned that Vokilikon upon us. They take off running in a dart that direction towards the opening that left in the tree line, knowing that Weaver has to be around there somewhere. Okay? As that happens and darts past you, so when you're just kind of like, what the fuck, you're able to jump back. Roll me 1d10 real quick, just for the hell of it.
There's something I was thinking about. I think no matter how well she does, I think she's landing messily.
Okay, we
Even
can
if
do
she's
that.
super dexterous, I think she's landing messily.
As a DM, I appreciate it when players fuck themselves over. That way I don't have to do it, so it's all good. 2. Let's say that. You're able to vault back, but as you do, you slip and stuff like that, and you're only able to move 2 foot back from your original location.
Mm-hmm.
Because of the poor execution of it, because of your state of mind. When you go to vault, your body language is there, but all of a sudden, boom! I mean, that headache just hits you. It's not went anywhere yet. Your response time was one thing, but you got owned by this. And it is still lingering, obviously, for you only being able to vault back 2 foot in this moment. Okay? Kiltusk, with her saying that, what is it you're doing? And as soon as you decide that, we're going to move into Darius's response to Shakoma and the Direboar taking off after this supposed other Weaver, which is like what we're calling those Vizillion that we're doing the magic. They're Weavers. What is your reaction to those taking off? And she goes, get the other ones inside of the hut.
I'll probably help Loki. Did that Axel Beak or whatever Loki was like trying to nuzzle back awake ever come back to?
Not yet. It's still KO'd and laying there rough. And you see Bastille has picked up Rursi and is carrying her over that way. When you see the large tropical bird that Rursi usually has on her shoulder is staying on her shoulder the whole time, even though she's knocked out pretty hard. You see this large, what looks like a prehistoric looking like toucan with a long billed beak and a feathered mohawk of red and blue feathers that goes down the middle of its head, and very, very long tail feathers. Long enough to where, you know how you were talking earlier about Merc had that half shawl, half cloak hanging off of one shoulder? The feathers of this bird almost carpet this Atladi cleric, almost like it's a half shawl, as it usually stays on, and you saw it on her shoulder earlier. Even though she's knocked out, the bird refuses to leave her. As you see Bastille picking her up and is heading in towards the hut, the cabin. And I want to clarify, I know I'm saying hut, and you're all like, we're going into a fucking teepee? What are we doing? This lodge, this hunting lodge, I've called many different things just out of necessity. But I want to be a little bit clear about this. These are established lodgings that the Atladi have built out here as like safe places for them to stay overnight. Process the things that they've hunted throughout the day. They are camouflaged. They are big cabins. Pretty much like if you ever watch those rustic movies where the cowboys and the guys get out of the winter for a little bit. There's like, it's all one big room. You know what I mean? There's a fireplace and shit in it, and there's rugs on the floor. It's like that before the Atladi people. And mind you, we're basing this on Aztec, Incan, Mayan, more Aztec than anything kind of society. So you have to think about what a hunting lodge would look like to these people in this time. We're talking about the outside of it is made out of different bricks of clay and things like that, for thatched roof that is made out of the greenery and things of this, but it's done well. This thing is sturdy and big enough to have at least 4 or 5 normal sized bedrooms in it with a large smokestack on the side. Okay, so when I say hut, cabin, teepee, whatever, this hunting lodge reflects that. This is something that they have made, process, stay the night in, a safe haven for them when they're out in the wilds doing their thing. Is that cool? Okay, I just want to be clear. So that's where Bast is headed with the cleric. What are you doing, Kiltusk?
I'll probably, is the cleric's, if Rusi's mount too big for it to like rest on Loki for him to carry it inside?
You could help, and it would take some checks, because the axe beak is damn near as big as your Allosaurus, which
Okay.
it's a large creature. So that would be a handful, but between you and Loki both, you could probably do that. Allosauruses are fairly stout in the back legs, and this one's trained well. So if you do the
Okay.
right checks, I'll let it happen.
Yeah, so then I'll try to help Loki carry it into the lodge, and also I'll be like trying to hurry in people and like tell them to get into the lodge for like safety, because knowing what just happened, there could be a chance that it could happen again, and we don't know when. So it'll be safe to get inside.
Okay. So with that, go ahead and roll me. What you want to do? What kind of check you want to do? Strength? And you're like, no, I really don't want to, but strength is going to be kind of what you need, bud. Unless you got a winch and
Yeah,
pulley system, that's what you're going to need to
yeah, I'm
do.
gonna have to go to strength with that one.
And I'll give you, I'll let you roll one, and I'll let you roll one for Loki, and I'll take the middle ground of the two, and that'll be your check, okay? Because
Okay.
DMs do weird shit, and it makes sense to me. As Corey's like, splitting the things. I see what you're doing.
Yeah, I got 21 for kill tusk.
You got a 21 for Kill Tusk?
Yeah.
I swear to God, I'm going to give you guys cams on your dice. I am.
Okay. And Loki.
What you got? Loki's different because that's a whole different
He
stat
got
sheet. He's like,
21 as well.
so I'm going to take 21 plus 21 is 42. Divided by 2 is 21. You got a 21. Good job. I just wanted to show the math so people knew what was going on. The law of averages. That's good enough to load a semi-broken, breathing, but wheezing and very badly injured Axebeak. You know this Axebeak's name is Macua. Macua. And you see that Macua is hurt because you hear Rursi mutter that word under her breath as she seems to be going through this whole waking up thing that Silouan was, where she's pained. And is, you understand, well, no, hold on. You would maybe hear her say that off in the distance as Bastille is carrying her into the cabin. You can see her arm go up as Bastille's carrying her, and she yells out that name. Does that work? I like the scene, and that helps facilitate that. So you're able to load this thing up onto Loki, or are you ushering it into this cabin as well? Or are you waiting on the outside, or are you going in?
I'll probably be like staying near the doors and like
Ushering.
spending most time inside, but like peeking outside for any sign of like Shikama and Broxel and Rowdy coming back in our hurry.
Okay, cool.
And if he needs to close the door like right away.
I like it. All right. With that, and thank you very much for that, Darius. As you drew the line in the sand, letting people fucking know. You know what I mean? You see these few things happen. You see Silouan's got enough in her to vault backwards, but fails terribly, where she has been very weakened by this. As things start to move around, you've seen what's going on. It's not that they don't respect the line that you've put down, but there's other gears in motion. And because of the actions they're taking, you don't feel like there's any more threat to Silouan from what's going on here. You've heard Shikoma yell out going to that. And I'm just, how you feel is one thing. I just want to make sure to underline the things that are happening around you. Then you decide how you feel, because that's D&D.
Yeah.
Right?
And just to clarify,
Yes.
you know, I am a player that listens to everyone's turn because it matters.
Yes.
So this whole time I'm listening and I'm like trying to decide, and so that it plays into what's happened without making minutia changes. I'd imagine Darius laid out that plan or that thought process as Solowin is getting up and moving backwards, and with that 21 insight check, I can tell she's off, right? Like I
Yeah,
don't know
yeah.
her well enough to know why per se. That's just what I would think, but enough to know like something's up. She gave the boar that her and Kiltusk were practicing riding on for hours a look of like I don't know
What
what
the
the
fuck?
fuck that is,
And I
right?
love how that works too, and you're picking up on that, which is awesome.
Yeah, and so he's kind of like the hell, like so he knows something's wrong. He sees that they're not coming towards, meaning they're not hostile. So he knows at least at this point they seem to be what he thought at first, which was with Kiltusk. There's some sort of grouping, because Kiltusk mentioned episodes ago that he had others like him in the Force.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
so putting all these things together, but seeing the boar and the boar's rider ride off. When they called out, you said they called out specifically in his tongue. So I have no idea where they're riding off to, per se. So I just want to clarify that.
Cool. Okay. Thank you. Because I would have forgot. So thank you.
Yeah. But I can assume they're riding off in the direction of more enemies.
Yeah.
And I don't want to split the party.
You do what you have to do, but I left and right hemisphere, sir. Be Darius, man. I got you.
Darius is not going. Let
me.
me just role play this little piece out. So as
yeah.
Kiltusk, is getting his mount and his mount's friend into the hut, I assume that's when he's calling out, saying like, "Hey, get into the hut for protection." And Darius just kind of looks back at Silwyn, looks over. Oh, are you crazy? That huge beast? I don't know where it went, but if it comes back, there's no way that hut's gonna protect us. I'm gonna go follow and make sure those things are not coming back.
Okay. Brahmas, how do
So
you
he's
react
yelling
to that?
at Kiltusk.
So which direction? You're torn now. Everyone's getting ushered into the shed, and then Darius is thinking, no, man. This shit comes back, and he's in pursuit, and I'll get back to you in just a minute, Darius. Which way are you pulled now, Merc? What are you thinking? You are hurt, by the way. You're level 3 exhausted. You're not sure how much good you would be in something like that. I want you to consider it, but options, buddy. D&D. Do what you got to do. And then as soon as you make a decision, I'm going back over.
I'd imagine that Merc is in Brahmas. He's probably like sitting on the floor at this point, just kind of head tucked to his knee, breathing heavily.
Okay.
Just wore out.
Give me
like
a perception
he's
at disadvantage
pushed.
real quick. I love how the face like
9.
Ha 9. You're going to be unclear as to what's going on outside of Brahmas right now, so
I was
we
gonna
don't need to
say,
worry about that.
even still, his only focus is going to be Silwyn.
Okay,
And
so
given the fact that he's moving at half movement speed now, he's
Yeah.
going to be clunky.
okay, so is it safe to assume you're either staying right there, or you're headed towards Silwyn to usher her in? Are you going to the lodge? Give me a direction.
He's going to be making his way to Silwyn slowly.
Okay, and you see where she just vaulted, and well, maybe you didn't. You're just making your way that way. Go ahead, Darius. Tell me how you want to pursue and what we're investing in this.
So I'm just I want to clarify, throwing it out there, Colby. Unless Kiltusk can tell him anything that would make him want to stay, he's made it clear like he's going to go off and follow your comrade into the woods and hunt down the creature. You kind of see as he kind of sniffs the air as he says that, like he's tracking something via smell.
As you're loading up the axe beak and doing those things, and you hear the cleric shout out the axe beak's name, Loki seems to and look over in the direction of Darius's character, shouting this stuff out. You notice this. Shakoma has asked you to usher people in, but the warrior in you sees that Darius is making all signs as if he's going that way. He's like, dude, fuck this. That thing, in that kind of gruff, hefty voice, that whispered heft that he uses. What do you do in that moment? He's giving you some options here, but create and make your own D&D. And I'm going to change my background because I forgot to, and I don't think black and red graphics work for this. So I'm going to change it. You guys talk amongst yourselves. Let's do something a little bit more flavorful, shall we? How about that? And we're back. Okay. This is where we are.
I would say Kill Tusk would like say to Darius. Darius.
Or yell it. He's far away. What'd you say? What?
Yeah, he would yell like, if your warrior spirit wants you to fight, then go fight. My warrior spirit wants me to aid a fallen comrade, or like a fallen tribe member.
Well done. Good job, buddy. Good job. By the way, I just want to say for everyone, it is not easy to role play someone that is from an area you've never been. So, Colby, hats off to you, sir. That's awesome. Thanks for adding in some flavor. I appreciate you. Okay. That's what you're hearing, Darius. What's your warrior spirit telling you to do?
Yeah, so I would say, if you remember, I ripped the throat
fleshy
out of I ripped the throat out of the thing. So like I would have been close enough to kind of get the overall sense of what these things kind of smell like, and I would assume their smell is different than most things in the forest.
Yeah, definitely.
So I'd like to roll a perception check, with like scent of smell.
I'll give you advantage on that. Also, because Rowdy and all them just took off sloshing through mud and swamp territory towards that opening, and some of this creature also, it seems to be bleeding and seems to be getting enough of pheromone that's very strong. I'll give you advantage on your roll.
Okay, just to clarify, is that I already get advantage because of my senses?
Yeah, do I triple dog dare? No, disadvantage will work. That'll be fine.
Okay, that's
too much Christmas story.
Huh.
It's the holiday season, man.
Yep. So that would be a 17. And I wanna clarify, because so it doesn't say in the sheet. My shroud doesn't have a limit. It just says it takes my cloak, my Shroud of Tempest says that it takes one attack to activate. That's
roll a 1d4 and one's a reroll.
Okay. Because I want to make sure that, because I'll abuse the head.
I know, I would too. Roll 1d4 and one. A 4?
I rolled a 1 and then a 4.
4 times a day.
Okay. All right. Cool.
See,
that's what I wanted to make sure.
And we're fixed. We're good. Yeah.
It's a lot if it was unlimited.
No shit. Yeah. Right. Yeah. I am the wind. I am the wind. Okay.
I'm Flash. Ulran's Flash.
Yeah, absolutely.
So basically, what would happen is, as he calls out, like he sees the playing field, right? He sees there's no enemies here. He sees that it seems like everyone here is safe, but he knows you don't let enemies get away. Like, especially ones that can conjure fucking T-Rexes or whatever the hell that was.
T-Rex, I get you.
Because it's clear it was magic, right? Because it poofed out of existence.
It poofed in and out. Lots of
That's
poofing.
what I thought.
Yes.
I just want to make sure.
Yeah.
So
Your DM described it better than a poof, but we'll say it was a poof. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was magic.
Yes.
So, and him being a bard, he would know enough about magic to know that was conjured by someone who is more powerful than he wants to let loose.
That would take an Arcana check, but I'll allow it.
So I'll Arcana check, but I don't want to know. I don't necessarily care what it was. I just know it was magic, right?
Yes, I mean that's good,
okay. Yeah. And that it has to be powerful magic, like not weak ass magic.
No,
because I know
that kind of summoning
magic
is not a simple thing, and you saw the ritual mark there on the ground that Weaver was starting to work on while we were distracted by the attack on the other side of the lodging.
Right.
Yes, these things are clicking together now.
Okay.
That's what you've got in this moment.
Right.
So as far as your rationing, you're at the end of your rope. Now you have to decide, make a decision, because the time is short.
So I see the direction in which the boar is going. First, I would like to cloak in that direction to the right of them. So
Okay.
full movement.
Is it 60 or 90?
It's 60.
Nice. You blast it. That gets you caught up, but we've went through quite a bit of dialogue, so they're up there just a little bit. I'm going to say they're at least 75 yards getting through this stuff chasing, because we went through quite a few little moments here.
Yep.
But that gets you flipping into that direction.
All right. So with my full action, that would be a little bit. I'd still have bonus action to be able to transform back because I still have enough bloodlust.
Yes, you do.
So I would hybrid back to get more movement.
Fuck yeah, make sure to take it off your sheet, right?
Yep. And I don't want to go past the boar, but I want to make it clear, like I'm running alongside it, to aid it.
Jeremy, roll me a 1d20 and a 1d4.
I'd kind of like call out, like look up to at Laddie Warrior, because I know the boar knows me.
Yes.
And it, in my opinion, it knows I saved it too. Like it would have my scent because I turned when I was next to it and saved
wink,
the
wink,
shit out
nudge,
of it.
nudge. Yeah, I get you. And the boar would know that I'm a friendly. The boar would know. I get you. You're good. Now, if you smell like hybrid, it might change things, but I get what you're saying.
Well,
Jeremy,
I went hybrid when I was next to it. Remember?
21.
Yeah. What was it?
21.
A 1d20 and a 1d4 was a 21.
21.
Ooh.
19 and a 4. Or 19 and a 2.
Okay, for the hell of it here, just because of how this all works, I want you to roll me a dexterity check, Darius.
Okay.
How close you are to this is how close you're able to get to them using full turn and this gust of wind cloak that you have.
All right, so we're talking about straight dexterity, or are we talking about acrobatics?
Well, if you're going to flip there, it might slow you down. I would just run.
Okay.
He's doing cartwheels through the woods, everyone. It's good shit.
All right. So that would
You know
be
what? I'll let you add it just because you're getting around terrain and shit like that. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, that's
kind
kind
of
of.
might have to with the way the island is.
I'll be fair. I'm not going to be that kind of asshole. Go ahead, Corey. What'd you get, buddy?
Yeah, because I imagine he's not hardcore parkouring, but
You're not Danny in it. Yeah.
Yeah. But so that, hold on. So it was a 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 then.
Okay. That's going to get you within you're going to be 40 foot behind them at that point.
Okay.
So
all right,
within
so
earshot, and they're moving and they're going through. You see Rowdy keeps looking left to right, and they're getting to a part where there's water on the air side and getting ready to go across one of these snaking rivers that are really, really full. They're coming up to an embankment where Rowdy is looking left and right. The large jaguar-like creature that has these tentacles. I want to mention too, they're very upper body built. They're very strong in the front end. Takes off and bounds off of Rowdy's back and jumps across the muddied side of the bank and seems to have grabbed something, but you can't see it past Rowdy. That's what you see from where you're at. What are you doing? Give me a decision, and I want to get back to the group real quick. Give me on that instinct, what's your next action?
Yeah, so the gist of my action would be to so just a level set with you. When I see the creature, I know the creature's smart enough to not be like an animal, right? Because certain charming spells don't work on animals.
Yeah,
So
like I say, in this moment, I'm going to give you the rationale to know that these aren't stupid. These are trained, intelligent animals like Loki is. But this is a quick moment, so to overthink too many options here is going to be tough. I'll give you that one. Whereas you
Yeah.
know that this is an intelligent hunting creature that has some basic intellect like Loki does or like Rowdy does.
Yeah. The gist of that is, and we can cut after this.
Yeah.
I'm gonna, when I see the creature and know that it can hear me, I'm gonna use suggestion on it. I'm gonna cast suggestion on it.
Okay.
And
That's
basically
awesome.
I'm gonna suggest that it hinder all movements.
Is that going to be the large jaguar or Rowdy?
No, so I'm going after. I'm thinking we're going after one of these lizard creatures.
Oh, Weaver, yes.
I saw because remember I don't have the language to know. She said the Weaver,
Right. But
but
it
I saw
counted
the
on something.
one. Yeah, and I saw the one that Bast was messing with,
Yes, you
and I
did.
saw it cast. So
Yes,
I
you did.
know that these things can cast spells. So
Mhm.
I think it's like Darius would think it's that similar one. So when I see that is when I want to cast suggestion.
Okay.
When I know that it can hear me.
Hold there. Okay.
Yeah.
Silhouin and Merc, have your moment. She is up now from the vault. You, Silhouin, have saw Rowdy and this large dire boar run by. The cool thing is you have no idea about that shit, and that's the way it should be. And Jeremy, you are distraught, beat up, and stuff. And I will even say, Silhouin, as Jeremy said, Brahmas is being moved over towards you, but he seems off. He seems to be moving slow. Roll perception check for me, Silhouin. That's going to be wisdom. That's a 1d20 plus your wisdom modifier. And your wisdom modifier, because I'm cheating and I have your sheet up here, is 1. It's 1d20 plus 1.
Let's see, that is an 11.
Okay. 10 is basic. 11 gives you a little bit more. You can see that there is something weary about Brahmas as he comes to you. You may be thinking maybe he got hit with the blast too. Maybe there's something going on. You're not quite sure, but something seems off about the way Brahmas is headed towards you. I'll let you two go ahead and act out this moment here and decide if you're going into the hunting cabin, if there's a conversation to be had here, whatever. I will give it to Jeremy. I will give you the start of it, as you're the one making your way over there, and Silhouin is still trying to regain herself, vaulted back, lost in traction, saw big creatures run by that had people riding on them and shit. Wow! Right? And go ahead,
Is that a
Jeremy.
werewolf?
Yeah, right? No shit. I know, right? I heard they're out here.
Yeah. So I would think that, like, for all intents and purposes, Brahmas puts up with a lot, and this is probably the worst off that she has probably seen him yet.
Yeah.
Like, he is not, the body is not broken down, but the movement is staggered, taking very heavy steps, and even heavier than his normal steps. And he's still just kind of soldiering on in your direction, as kind of pushing it as much as he can, but it takes everything in Merc himself just to get this thing to you.
Okay.
And when he finally does, you're going to see the construct kind of straighten up, but not as rigid as it might, almost as if it's very heavily fatigued. And you just hear, Merc, are you okay?
I think that, like, hearing Kill Tusk saying, like, hey, everybody come in, she did not move an inch in the slightest until she kind of saw Brahma sort of come over. Something I do kind of want to quickly mention is she observes Darius kind of running off, right?
Absolutely.
So I don't think she fully kind of recalls him. I think she just knows that he was the voice of a hostile energy, to not towards her, but that sort of like hostile energy to a great degree. And I think there's like something itching in her memory of something uncertain about him, though she can't place what it is.
Roll a history
And
check
then
of disadvantage real quick.
Let's see, D20, right?
Yep. Tell me Corey's picture doesn't look like he's drunk as shit right now. I love it.
That is a. That was the 17.
That was a disadvantage. That was 2d20, so you took the lowest.
Mhm.
You do have, when you hear that voice, you have a memory of something that strikes home with you, Silouan, in that moment. You hear that gruff voice and you see the intense look on his face, and he's yelling the things. He's drawing the line in the sand. He says, I'm going after him. Turns around and takes off. You remember violin music. Something about you, you can imagine this man that the heavy rain is falling down on and the hair is slicked back in this feral state, almost being extraordinarily impulsive and in this moment of action. You can remember him walking about playing this very melodic song on a violin that was one of the most moving pieces of music that Silouan has ever heard outside of the Avian City. When he played this, it made your soul hurt. And you remember seeing him walking around in a long coat with the collar popped up and his hair pulled back, much unlike the version of the warrior version of him you're seeing now, playing this lament that seems to speak volumes of the pain that he suffered on the ship, on the deck of an airship. And you get that visual moment. So it may be something you want to ask him about later, but you do see that vision, and you know that this is a person that you have seen and is a musician such as yourself. And that's what's going to be fun about this, is giving you those moments. It's going to be great.
I think so. She has that sense of melancholy, that sort of shared artistic spirit, but I think still there is that uncertainty. Still, like, there's something about him that she can't quite place.
Yep.
And I think the fact that he's running off in reaction to her and this person, the pretty much, I think at this point, the only person that she trusts, being very, very wounded, and him still kind of dipping, I think she has in her head, like, at this point in time, I don't think she's seen Bast. Kiltusk looks unfamiliar to her. I think the only person that she's putting any trust in whatsoever at this point in time is Brahma. So I think she kind of like is holding on until he kind of comes over, and then she's sort of like, I think I'm not dead. And then I think kind of that's the extent of it, just like, I'm not dead. Then I think she sort of like looks over towards like the hunting log, and is that safe, or are what's going on?
Very distant. Merc, what is your response to this?
That is where this tribe has told us to seek cover for now.
Do we trust them?
This seems like a very strange thing, Merc, for her to say.
Right. And that would definitely take Merc back a little bit, but at the same time, he's so just worn. It's probably one of those things that just kind of ding.
Right.
It's like, that's weird. Okay.
Yeah.
But he would. I would like to think I have made a friend of one of the tribe. I have no reason to believe that they would do us harm.
Okay. How much taller is he? Obviously, he's significantly taller than her, correct? Like,
Brahmas is quite a bit. You're just barely like over 5 foot. You're like 5'4", 5'5", maybe.
The reason why I mentioned it, I think, is she's gonna end up using her cane a little, her lance a bit like a cane.
It's not
right
a cane.
Now. Yeah, she's using her lance a little bit like a cane right now. Yeah. I think she's too short to offer her arm. I think even if she put it all the way up, she still wouldn't be able to reach it. So I think she extends the one wing that she has to almost like offer as like a degree of support. She's not very strong right now, but almost like you can lean on me a little bit too right now, and then we'll go.
That's cool.
I'd like to think of it as like a dad with his big old paw And got his little toddler daughter next to him trying to grab onto his hand. All she can get is the finger.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's like it's the Iron Giant, for God's sake. It's the Iron Giant. All right. So yeah, definitely. With that, are you two making your way into the cabin? Is that fast forwarding too much, or is that the goal?
No, that's the goal for me, is to get her to the
Okay.
cabin and get her comfortable.
Okay. So the scene inside the cabin is that Kill Tusk, you would see them ushering in. Is there anything you wish to say to either one of them, or do as they approach, or would you like to move past that? It's up to you.
Probably move past that.
Okay. So with that, the scene inside the cabin is going to be Bastille and Sade inside. Sade is Sean's character. I'll explain that when real quick to you, Silowin. What you would see is I would imagine this moment, the way Sade would appear to you would be, this is a person that seems to have, God, how do I explain this the best as far as the wardrobe is concerned? Because I know the look. Sean's never talked to me much about the wardrobe. This is a monk that seems to be working on a way of peace and pacification. There are tinges to the wardrobe that show a darker path at one point. There may be leather binds around the wrists and different parts of this outfit and gear that may be dark in their demeanor, loose around certain areas that would make this character be able to be a fighter of some kind. But there would also be a lightness to this too, as there would be new parts of the garment that would be of a more light color, whites and off-whites and things of that nature. This character is very feminine and has long, I think it was damn near white hair and a very pale complexion with yellow pupils of the eyes, and is very frail and has a mask over her face from the nose up, almost like something at a masquerade party that seems to be a raven. Not the big Dr. Bill like shit from we're thinking, but one that is much smaller and shows the feathers coming off to the sides from around the eyes. It's very beautiful. And it's like the roll history check real quick. At disadvantage.
12 and 19, so 12.
Okay, 12. You can't quite place this. You don't know that you've actually seen this before. This seems strange to you. But you see that this being, this female in raven-like garb, it has a crossbow hanging onto its side that seems to have raven-like feathers for the actual arms of the crossbow. There's a very dark mystique to this character, although it's trying to lighten up its look, is trying to heal this Atlati cleric that was taken in that is very injured. You also see that the Allosaurus Loki is inside, along with the axe beak, which is just now being laid down by Kill Tusk inside in a bed of straw over in the corner of this hunting lodge. The axe beak looks rough. There's some major stuff not right. There's a leg that doesn't look like it's quite bent the right way. There's some blood coming out of things, and as you're doing that, you notice your ears tingling, and as you reach your finger up, Silverman, and check it out, there's a little bit of blood on your hand.
I think she probably goes like,
Yeah.
and then like holds it up to Brahmas.
Yeah, Brahmas, you'd see her. You would also notice that she has a bit of dried up blood around her nose, and one of her eyes seems to be a bit bloodshot in the vessels and stuff and around her ear. You know that thing was some kind of psychic blast that came from that scion earlier, and she got slammed with that shit hardcore. That's the scene inside Celine and Danny's character. lots of different names. Bastille are tending to the cleric on the table. Kiltusk is dealing with the Axebeak and Loki over on the bed of straw. You're just now walking in, doing your best to help Brahmas find his way into the hunting lodge. And now we have Darius on pursuit that thinks maybe he's getting a visual that these creatures, these beasts, have found what they're after. Let's go ahead and take our 15-minute break. When we come back, we will start with Darius and see how this all unfolds. And then hopefully the trip either deeper in or the trip back or wherever it goes from there, whatever happens. And then we'll take up with inside of the hunting lodge and whatever conversations we have there. Does that sound good for everybody? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pause this, and then we'll restart it here in just a few moments. We'll see you in 15. Recording in progress. Okay, we're back! All right, so all that fun stuff. Corey. Darius used one of his 4, it's amazing, 4 charges to wind jump, wind lunge, whatever. What is it called on your sheet, sir?
It's gust of wind as a magic item that
So
he
did
has.
you make up a cool name for it?
I believe it was called the Shadow Poof.
The Shadow Poof.
It's the I would say it's the gotcha, bitch. No,
Gotcha, bitch.
no.
Nicely done, sir. Well, I'll tell you what.
No,
I'll give you time to think about it, because that's an awful lot of pressure to put on a guy right in the middle of discovering possible said enemies on the bank. So keep that in your back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
The back of Rowdy is this dire boar has a large ridge back. We've spoke about it's like a razorback boar, only dire. And you saw this leopard-like hybrid-like creature that was trailing from beside to something that you saw on. The young girl came out with it, riding this creature, and now it seems like it's her beast companion. Everyone's got one of these. It seems like it's an Atlati warrior. Okay, and as it jumps off the back of Rowdy, as its head was down, sniffing the banks of this flooded river, possibly losing the scent or trying to pick back up on this Vasilian weaver that you've been tracking down, you saw the jaguar creature run across and just jumped off the back of Rowdy and has landed on the banks on the other side, but you can't see what it ended on. You are coming around the right, the left, over the top. How is Darius making his way around Rowdy to see what's happening ahead as you're readying your spell? Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say spatially speaking, whatever seems most advantageous, whether it's right or left, doesn't particularly matter to me. The gist is, okay, he wants to come around and obviously he's first gonna get a lay of the land, like see what's happening. Is if he's watching, like if this creature has jumped on the beast, or if this beast, should I say, has jumped on the creature, and is killing it, obviously he's not going to stop it per se. He would yell out to the other Atleti warrior. So let me clarify. As I come around, do I see that it has the Weaver?
I'll tell you what you see. Okay. As you come around that side of the boar, you see that this creature has something pinned down to the side on the other side of the bank, which is somewhat reminiscent of what you saw when you pulled that one Vasilian that you had up out of the water. Only this one isn't a warrior one. In fact, this one does seem to be a weaver, the type that Danny and all of you guys engaged, that was kind of standing back behind the main Vasilian. You can see that it is mud soaked, that these robes that it wears are very ritualistic. This thing almost looks like it's some kind of, what's the word I want to use here? I can't think of it right now. It's almost like some kind of cultist-like attire. But it's made out of natural hides and things with a little bit of crafting to it. There are some scales added to this. There's whimsical pieces. I can imagine an urn made out of like a gourd hanging off the side of this thing, as when it has been pinned to the bank, but this large jaguar beast-like creature, and it's pinned it to the bank, and you can see its shoulders raising up, and you can see the head lowering, the ears pinning back, and the tentacles that come from its mouth seem to drape out and are just kind of hovering up above it. As it is in some kind of moan, its head kind of twists. You can see the tail of the Vasilian slapping around on the bank, afraid, not knowing what to do underneath of this. And in that moment, you see the back of this jaguar-looking creature begin to shrink. And you see something that you didn't expect. And as this happens, as the transformation completes itself, and the tentacles seem to fall down and then flap and lay on the ground as if they are parts of an elaborate costume. As the pinned back ears seem to become parts of what seems to be the hood piece of some large humanoid's headdress. You see what looks like a large barbaric Atladi warrior with dark tanned skin, with war claws made out of bone, pinning this Vasilian to the bank. The headdress that was the jaguar now looks like a large jaguar-looking headpiece that it wears as a costume-like hood, very similar to what Killtusk wears. But this guy is large. He is a massive, muscular man. Much more of the barbaric side of things in just his look. And he seems to have this thing against the bank, and he is shouting out shit and at Laddie at this in a very deep and somber and powerful tone. You can't understand, but it seems that it is being interrogated to some degree as it is pounced on top of it. What are you doing in that moment?
I would be shifting out of my hybrid form back into normal, and calling out, because I mean, being that I don't know Atladi, I can't tell. It doesn't look like he's beating it to a pulp. So, can I roll, I guess, an insight to see if I can
Absolutely. But I'll give you that one, but that's it. And I'll tell you
Okay.
what your first impressions are of this situation.
Okay, yeah, that's what I'm trying to.
Okay. I'll give you the
that's-
feel for it, sir.
Yeah, that's a 10.
A 10. He seems to be content with holding it down and inflicting fear upon it.
Mhm.
You don't know if it's getting ready to break his neck. You see it's pinned, and he is not moving on it as the Vasilian underneath seems to be shell-shocked and is laying there not knowing what its fate's going to be. Neither do you.
Yeah. Okay, so I would call out, because I don't know his name. I would say, "Hey, you
Jaguar.
big guy! No,
Hey, Jag. Yeah.
big ass mother."
Yeah.
No, I would call out, "Wait, we have to see if they have others out here. We have to question it."
As it slowly looks over and looks over at you out of the corner of its left eye, you can see the top hood piece of the jaguar, the ritualistic teeth turn around as a normal mortal man's chiseled features turn. And I'll tell you what this person looks like. Have you guys seen the original movie Predator?
Mm-hmm.
The original movie? You know the guy that played like the Indian, that was the one that sacrificed himself to the Predator, that went out in that log to fight it, that guy that got killed early on in the movie?
Yeah.
That's who this dude looks like. And he looks over at you, And when he does, very dark, stoic eyes. And he says, I got to do something because this will dictate. Okay, yeah, definitely. With the 17, he's grasping what you're there for and why wait and why it needs to be questioned. He says to you in a very tribal-like voice, come and ask your questions of it then, for it is the questions it will never answer that matter most to me. And he holds it in place. And you can hear the thing, and it sticks its tongue out a little bit and squirms a little bit. And you can hear it say, silence. And you can hear a little bit of a bone crunch as you look down, and you can see that the claw is driven into its shoulder on the left side of its body, which was kind of hidden from view because of the bulk and mass of this guy's back, as he has it pinned to the bank with war claws, almost like a primitive Wolverine. He has war claws that are kind of made out of bones and onyx stone and shit that was made at this place, and he has it pinned to the bank. He's going to give you your moment.
All right. So, as I walk up,
You'd be crossing the water. It's going to be just a little bit over waist high. And as you do, you can still see that Vizillion's tail out from in between his two, kind of flipping around nervously as he's got it held to the bank there and shit like that. Its hand out, but daring not even to come up to face the massive Atladi warrior on top of him.
So suggestion is vocal material. So I don't have to like do anything specifically other than I pull out of my pocket a little like a little whistle,
Okay.
and you know, not quite flute size, but big enough to make a little bit of a tune, to kind of like to almost like you see the people kind of like when they're checking their tone, you know,
Yep.
like tuning their vocal cords.
As a musician, I know what you're talking about, sir.
Yeah. And I would kind of be doing that, and I would just I'm not gonna do it because I can't sing, but his voice.
Oh, come on! You don't want to try? Come on, shit.
No, his voice, still raspy and whatnot,
Yeah.
would almost come off, maybe, possibly, if it works. The goal is to make it come off a little bit soothing, because this is a charismatic type of spell.
Mhm.
As he just goes, he says, "Hold all your muscles tight. Move not a bone, not a one. Answer all my questions truthfully, and you shall be rewarded."
Okay. Roll your D20, and let me see what the DC of this is going to be.
All right.
And add your spell save DC to it.
Spell save.
So 1D20 plus whatever that number would be.
Yeah. Spell save. So this would be plus 8. Would be a 19.
That's awesome. Jeremy, roll 1D20 and a 1D4 and tell me if this Vizillion is able to beat a DC of a 19 on this spell being cast against it.
Say a D4 or D8.
A 1D20 and a 1D4.
Be a 12.
You succeed. You can see that your spell has taken effect. However you want that to look, I'll let you have your moment.
Yeah, so basically, the way suggestion works is I give a course of activity, and it must follow that course of activity all over the concentration of the spell, which is 8 hours. So seeing that he held it tight, I said, don't move a muscle and answer all my questions truthfully. The gist is basically if I see that his tail, because I saw that was my way of knowing whether this
Indicator.
works is if his indicator was his tail. Does his tail stop?
Fuck yeah.
As I see the tail stop, I believe that he now is under my spell, and I just call out to that lady. I've calmed him. You can release him. Stand by. But do not act against him hostilely, or my spell will fail.
He looks at you for a minute, and he looks with understanding for a minute and gives you a... But then you see him grimace and start to get intense and angry over something for a minute. And you can see him pull his right arm up, and he has to pull his arm out of the claw that is embedded into his shoulder. He has to leave it there behind, because he knows if he damages him, it could stop the spell. He has to take the one claw off and leave it embedded into his shoulder. And he slowly starts to get up as he goes in and smells the creature really close. He stands and he backs up. Standing up, he is a tall mother. And he stands there and he takes off the other claw and he hangs it off of his belt. They ceremoniously hang to his sides. And he crosses his heavily muscled arms that are banded around the top like this. And he watches you intently and lets you do what you need to do. The creature still stuck to the bank with the claws through its shoulder.
Alright, so as I approach it, the first thing I want to do is, knowing that most spellcasters, other than like sorcerers or maybe warlocks, require some sort of component or a foci of some sort. So I'd like to see if I can find that foci and remove that foci from this creature as I'm questioning it.
Okay, cool. Roll a investigation.
Alright, D20. Ooh, 19 on the die. Plus, probably low. My investigation's a 4, so 23.
You do. You do find the components to do this. And what you find is 3 semi-size, almost like coaster-size scales of what seem to be one blue, one orange, and one white that you identify as scales off of an actual Vokilikon. Okay? You see scribed on the back of them 3 different symbols that have been etched in and drawn on the back. With your check being as high as it was, when those 3 symbols, if they were to be overlapped and made into one symbol, it would be the complete circle that creature was trying to draw on the ground to summon this thing forward. Each piece of this is a part of the actual rune on the back of all 3 of these. Those are the components it had to do this.
All right.
And you would see that it has inflicted some sort of self-harm to itself to be the last activator, as there is a bit of that poisoned blood that seems to be somewhat now washed because of the bank, but you can get the remnants of it being left on the 3 scales. And that is improv.
So I'll put each one of those in a different pocket so as to not overlap them.
Good call, bud. Right?
And just to let everyone visualize, the way this is happening is like Darius is doing the whole like friendly thing, like, you know, I don't know who you are or what you want, but you've harmed my friends, and I would like it if that stopped. And as I'm doing this, because I'm trying to take his attention off of what I'm doing, like looking at his person and grabbing these things, I can see that he can't move.
As it does, as you're saying that, it does respond to you, but it doesn't in Vasilian.
Okay.
And you hear the large, stoic Atlati warrior give kind of a sarcastic... The creature doesn't understand your your passive ways. He is warning you that you are going against his god.
All right. Oh man, this is so perfect. I'm
I hope so.
well, so as I noticed, like he's talking to Vasilian, and I don't know that. I would like to then I pull out um it says a small clay model of a ziggurat, but that makes no sense to me. Like I feel like this would be like I pull out of my component pouch like this tongue, this withered tongue, and I bite down on it as I begin to say an incantation. And so um, suggestion is concentration, but this is not.
Okay, cool.
Uh,
Thank you
I
for
would
keeping it cool. Yep, I'm with you.
I would like to cast tongues, which gives me the ability to understand any spoken language and also speak it.
Okay, go ahead. And now
Whoa.
you would be able to understand that. And I'm curious, roll 1d20. I'm just curious as to how well this worked.
Okay. Oh, 16 plus my spell thingy would be 24.
That's awesome. I want to explain real quick, Bella. Normally in D&D, when you do a spell, it's an 8 plus your bonuses. But that doesn't leave any room for mistakes or really great moments. Now, with attack rolls in our in games, you roll 1d20 plus your bonuses. There's a variable there to show how well something was performed. So all the basic spells that are cast here, any bard spell that someone will have, or things like that, instead of just that 8, you get to roll 1d20. And whatever that is what's the base number to your spell. And it represents how well you're able to get your components together, how well you are able to sing and perform the magic. It adds a really neat element to this. Sometimes shit can be really great. Sometimes you're going to blow it really bad. So it adds this neat kind of dynamic. So if you see that, now you know what's going on. Go ahead, Corey. Sorry.
So now speaking back to it in its native tongue,
Yes.
I would like to why are you hunting these people?
It looks at you with shock. And then almost like a cat hissing at you when it's in fear of its life but it's also trying to be threatening at the same time. It's he looks at you angered that you're using the words that it can speak. And it tells you God, how would it react in that moment? That's rough.
Just to clarify, it's under the suggestion. Basically, it's charmed to answer truthfully.
Okay. And you asked it, what was the question exactly again? So I'll make sure.
Yeah, why are they hunting these people?
You stand in Vasilian lands. They need to be returned to the water from whence we were born. We are the evolution. We are the next step in the dinosaurs making their way into the light of the gods. And you would drain our lands. Take from us our homes. Well, now we take them back. We feast on your bones and show worship to the Tarask. For when he returns, none will be left but the Vasilian. Its partners, its worshippers. And that's my best Vasilian. And that's what it says to you. Thank you. Yes. Okay.
My friend, I can assure you, we are not part of this. I do not know what these Atlati have done to your lands. However, how many of you are in these woods currently coming to attack these people? basically what he's doing is the
No,
whole,
I
like,
understand. I understand what
Okay.
you're saying.
okay.
But that was a complicated question to ask a Vizillion. That was
Yeah.
multidimensional. Let's see how he responds. He's like, you know what? Okay, he's picking up what you're putting down. Okay, let's try this on. Begin scene. Okay. You just love making me do his voice, don't you? Yeah, so that's great. So, let's say with that, as many lives as it takes, we have countless of our kind, and there will be more to come. No one is safe. Not from the Vizillion.
Okay. As he says that, I look back at the warrior, and so me speaking the tongues, if I read it correctly,
Hmm?
when I speak to the creature, I'm speaking in its language to it, but to everyone else, I'm speaking common. That's
Sure, that works.
That's the way I read it.
I'm not going to get you on a technicality with that. That's fine with me.
Okay, the reason I say that is I want to turn back to the Atlati, and I want to say, I do not wish to be part of your squabbles here. However, it does not seem like these creatures have any resemblance of humanity. It seems like they will kill anything and everything in their path. I have nothing left for it. I have no other questions. At this point, we know that they're going to keep coming.
He's shaking his head in acknowledgement and just listening to you.
I turn back to the Sicilian. How long? Oh, excuse me. How long until? I mean, I can't make you do voices if I'm gonna.
No, it's fair. That's, you know what? Touche, sir. Right on.
How long until the next wave of your people hit the encampment?
It looks at you for a long time, and you can see it doubting itself. It kind of shrivels up, and you can see the large neck swallow in the creature as its scales seem to pin back a little bit along its head. And it would say, as soon as I return with the news and proof that I have killed you.
As he says that, I'll turn back to the Atlati. And I'll put my right hand on my rapier. We cannot let him leave, as I want to, like, slice his head off.
Roll an attack roll with advantage.
Ooh. Oh, okay. Well, that'd be 18 on the die. Plus, what is my plus? Is it 8? No, my plus for the rapier is a 12. So 30. Am I reading that right?
Breaching hit. You are.
Okay.
That is a breaching hit to the neck of the prone creature. Roll me damage. And since you breached it by more than 10, that is a critical hit.
Alright. So that means roll twice?
The dice, yes.
Yeah. I'd like to also throw on there. What is it? I have all my notes back at the house. All my little
It's
cheat
okay.
sheet.
It's okay. What do you want to do?
Basically, I'd like to be like I'd like to flourish.
Okay.
To basically, like with the rapier, be very quick, like multiple hits if I can.
I'll let you do that.
All right.
Okay. And that gives you how many more attack rolls?
shoot. That's
2 more at least.
yeah,
At least.
yeah. We'll just say for that. We'll just say
Mhm.
2 more. Both at advantage, right?
Yeah, and it was based on your
Okay.
bardic inspiration die, but
Yeah,
we can move through with this. Yeah,
yeah.
maximum would have
Okay,
been 2.
okay. And so the first one would be a 25. The second one would be a 20.
Okay, with that, you are able to go ahead and take off the frailer than you imagined neck. Take off the head of this creature as it lays there, somewhat pushed in and embedded into the root and mud-filled bankments as the poisoned blood runs down along the sides of the body as the tail now begins to twitch uncontrollably as the spell has ended in this moment. With that, the Atlati brute standing beside you reaches down and puts his foot on the neck and face of this thing. You hear bones crunch as it pushes its head even deeper into the embankment as the snout of this thing just disappears underneath of the boot of the creature as he uses this as leverage to put his hand back into his bone claw that still remains into the creature and pull it out.
Do I need to make a roll because of the acid splash?
Do me a favor, Jeremy, 1d10. 10, it's fucking raining cats and dogs. 1, it's finally starting to let up.
Because correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't you say these things when you cut them?
They do. And I'm going to see if the rain's super heavy and he's laying there. If you're quick slashes, I'm going to say the slashes are able to go through before the effect because of how you were doing the flurry. I think that would be artistic. Also depends on how heavy the rain is pushing down to. We're going to see. What'd you get, boss?
9.
It
I need
is.
Sarah McLaughlin to do one of those commercials for me.
Yeah.
Like for 25 cents a day, you too may fund
too.
this D&D player with D10s because he has one out of all of these.
Right, yeah. So Bella, so you know, since we've got here, Jeremy is the weatherman. So this is a tropical thing that storms are really into. So I have him roll 1d10 once an episode to tell us where the rain's at and how hard it is. And it's fucking coming down, man. Like every time he rolls, it's 8 has been the lowest, right?
Monsoon season.
It's monsoon season. It's ridiculous here. So with that and the quickness of which you did this with your flourish, Darius, no, there was no splatter. That's why it's neat. After the cuts happen, then it begins to happen. And a little bit grotesque, but you understand the picture and scene.
Okay.
Okay.
So as that happens, then I would we should hurry back to the camp
Okay.
and warn the others that we might have bought some time, but they will eventually be here.
Okay. And with that, thank you. That was awesome scene. I appreciate there was some really fun stuff there. Thank you for being expedient in the end. Would you like to say that he would load this creature on the back of Rowdy and take it back? And this guy would stay in this form. Still don't know his name. Still haven't communicated. But he would go over and guide Rowdy, holding on to long braids of his hair and that half-on kind of shit that was on its back, and he would walk it back to the place with somewhat of a haste, with that Vasilian laying across the back in this wrecked harness that Rowdy has on his back. I'll say you make your way back in a minute. I'm going to give these folks a little bit to talk in the cabin before you get there, okay?
Yep.
All right, so awesome. Thank you very much. That was cool. That was fun. All right, so inside, as you guys were headed into this place, Killtusk, you were looking outside, you said, every once in a while, and then you were checking inside before everybody started to herd and make their way in. There's something I want to make a point of here that I forgot to, and this is very, very important. I want you to roll me, Killtusk, a history check with advantage. There's something that you've seen the Scion do before. This young female with the shaved head, the young girl that has the painted marks all over her, that I thought would be very tasteful here. Tell me good things. And you are muted. Hello.
21.
21?
Mm-hmm.
Nicely done. And we're going to get him dice camera, Jeremy. Next Christmas, dice camera for him. Lion second. It's all good. You
I swear
know
it's
what?
a new dice, man. I swear it's a new dice.
No, I know you're an honest guy because I have seen you roll shit before. Remember that time with Loki? That was terrible. I mean, but that made a great story, so that's awesome. So you're an honest
It just
fellow.
so happened that the situation ended up coming out with a nat 20 when I didn't need a nat 20. Or didn't want a nat 20.
I get it. I get it. Wish you could put them in your pocket, right? It's all good. So, with that, you notice that the Scion goes over to that body that Darius left on the bank. The one that was barely holding on to life. The one that looked up at him and grinned and said, Vokilikon. The one that warned that Tyrannosaurus was coming, you know. He left that thing pretty much shambling there in a mess. The Scion, once the Jaguar, or Broaxel, which is the name of the guy, you know this, took off in that direction. You saw the Scion female walk over with her eyes starting to uncloud. She still looks like she has blind person eyes when she's normally around. They're white with like a hazed over blue center. Okay? And as she walks along and kind of guides herself, she has a large staff that has several different feathers and tokens and things upon it. And she is making her way through, you know she is damn near blind, Colby, okay? And as she makes her way over and can hear the heavy raspy breathing of this Vasilian on the banks there at our camp, she goes over and she begins to take out her paints and begins to paint on the creature. As it starts to pick up his hand, it pulls back a clawed hand with the last bit of strength it has, pulls back a hand and gets ready to slash at her. And as it does, you can see her eyes once again begin to light up, and the thing's hand starts to shake and move like this as its head moves back and forth, as if it is mentally controlling the creature, making it halt itself. As she begins to hold that spell here and begin to paint these symbols and runes. As she does, she bends over and whispers something as if she was whispering something to a child. She stands back and looks at the creature, and as she lowers her hand that was casting the spell, the creature lowers its hand, turns around extraordinarily solemnly, goes over to the river that we came up, as the Scion crosses her arms and stares and looks at the creature, whispering words underneath her breath. They sound like they're reversed on the air. Just, yeah, it's good. Right? And the creature goes into the riverway and dives down underneath the water and leaves, and she lets it. Okay? You know what this practice is from your history check. She has put a false memory into the creature. So, her thought initially and of the group was these things were here to scout and see what was going on, try to defeat us if they could, but find out our location, find out where we survive. Whatever she has whispered and expelled upon this Vasilian, that is what its memory is now. And it is going to go back and possibly report this new reality that the Scion has implanted upon the creature. You've seen her do this before. You have seen her do this with warriors that have went out on large hunts and lost people that they've loved, and she's been able to erase the memories of certain people that saw horrible things and saw their brethren killed by dinosaurs, and she was able to take away that pain from them. This is a very similar act that she's able to perform on this Vasilian. Okay? I just want to make a note of that you saw that. As everyone goes into the place, you will notice that the Scion, when her name, let me make sure I find it here, Karsu, okay, Karsu walks up to you as you're inside tending to the axe beak, correct? And Loki?
Yeah.
Okay. She walks in the doorway and closes it behind her and goes over to the axe beak and gets down on one knee. And she says to you in Atladi, she goes, what's the name again? Hold on.
Part two.
No, the axe beak.
Oh.
Macua. How did I pronounce that again? Earlier, do you remember?
Makua.
What was it?
Makua.
Makua. I like it. I gotta remember that. Makua Matata. I gotta remember that. Should tell I remember it. Okay. So, it says to you in a very whispered, young, feminine voice, Makua has been severely wounded, Keltusk. We will need herbs. We will need healing. I will try to bring it back. I am short on paints and supplies. Do you have any that I might use in the beckoning? And she calls the beckoning. That's what she calls bringing a soul back, or bringing a memory back. You would know that Kiltusk does have an ample amount of supplies from the things that you do and the rituals that you know how to paint as well.
Yeah, I would reply to Parsu saying I still have some painting supplies and healing supplies left from the search I was sent to.
Okay. Would you like to hand those over to her, place her out, or help her in the beckoning?
I'll help her.
Okay. I would like for you to roll a spellcraft check, because Arcana is learning and doing things, but spellcraft is the performing of arcane ritual. So it'd be a spellcraft check, and then she'll roll 1, 2, and we'll see how you guys do. Okay.
What's the spellcraft check?
What that is that's going to be with you. It would be wisdom, because that's what you do your magic with as your class. So it'd be a 1d20 plus your wisdom modifiers plus any skill points you've put on spellcraft, if you have any.
Not seeing anything.
Okay.
So, have fun.
So 1d20 plus your wisdom and your proficiency bonus, because wisdom is your proficiency score. Or one of your proficiency ability scores. Yeah, that stuff. What'd you get, bud?
11.
11 total. Ooh. Okay. Ooh. When she begins to paint on the axe beak, Makua, you see that the beak has been badly broken in places. It's pink, where the skin is actually showing through, almost like a turtle shell that has been broken. You can see that the eye is closed and still does not do anything, but the eye seems to be rolling underneath of the eyelid. The eyes are fairly large on these axe beaks. And the claws will twitch every once in a while, and you'll hear a little bit of a coo, almost like a creature roosting underneath of its breath every once in a while as its large chest seems to go up and down and expand. You guys have done what you can. This thing is going to need to rest and possibly have this attempted again. You've been doing enough to stabilize the creature and get it stable, but that's about it at this point. The creature was wrecked pretty hard by the tail. Okay? Okay. With that, now here's the way I want to do this. There's a lot going on here, and the thing is, in this cabin, as a DM, I can't really create any action that isn't created by the people inside of it. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to use the NPCs and everybody here to give plot points and have a conversation about everything that's going on around you guys. So you guys are starting to understand stuff. So I want this to be a big session. This is where everybody's getting together. Everybody's healing up. Everybody's in this hut. The parent threat is gone. Heavy rain is pouring down on the outside rooftops because Jeremy is a fucking storm lord, okay? You can't get off the tens. As you hear the cooing of the axe beak over there resting to the side, let's go ahead and talk about Rursi with this large prehistoric like bird on her shoulder still. This large prehistoric toucan, and how she seems to be coming along. Okay, so Brahmas, Silouan, I'm going to go ahead and be Bastille for a minute, and I'm going to speak out, and he is first going to speak out to Silouan. Okay, now I can usually do a pretty good McGuffey. His name's Danny okay, and he likes for me to play the character. He's cool with it. I know Bastille very well. Okay, now I want you to keep in mind here, Silouan, that you know what we've discussed. You remember what we've discussed. And if he mentions something that you don't know, like if Bella doesn't know, Silouan doesn't know, which is what's brilliant about all this shit. Okay, so brilliant. Listen, look at me. Yeah, there it is. I'll take it. So it's a nice way to do it. So, with that, how do I want to do this? Okay, I will say that he goes ahead and Bastille speaks to you, Silouan, and looks at you, and he looks at Brahmas with like a skeptical eyebrow, and he looks at you and he goes, "Are you even sure you should be walking right now? You took a nasty fall out there, and I'm still not even sure why."
I think she kind of looks kind of like in at him, like a bit, like maybe like leans in a bit. And she's like, and I think she's trying to rack her brain a little bit.
He senses that hesitation in your answer, and he says, "You know just as well as I do that there's only been a few avians to actually step foot amongst these lowlanders here. And I know you don't ever plan on possibly going back to the avian city." And he looks at Brahmas and he takes kind of a deep breath and then musters up a little bit of courage to say the next words to you. And he goes, and I know what you think you have to prove. But you cannot single-handedly take on the creatures of this place." He goes, we have a task to do, and we have to do it as a group. He looks at you, and he comes over, and he takes his hand, and he wipes it on the side of your ear, and it makes you jump just a little bit, and he pulls back, and he holds back a thumb with blood on it. And he says, "You're lucky." And he takes it and wipes it across his chest like that and wipes it off. And goes, "Imagine how it could have been." And he looks down at the cleric down below. As that happens, you would hear that bird start to mimic what seems to be some kind of Atladi language, almost like a parrot would, a parakeet, which you can't quite understand. In that moment, what is Silouan doing?
I think she knows that he's very familiar to her, and she kind of knows she's kind of running through everything in her head a little bit. She's like trying to start at the very beginning for her and put all of her thoughts into order. She's starting back in the avian city. She's thinking about her mom, she's thinking about her uncle, she's thinking about her dad, she's thinking about the land, she's thinking about Vina, and kind of all of these little bits, and she's like trying to piece together. And as it's getting more recent, it's getting more and more hazy, but she knows he is very familiar, and she's listening to him talk, but her focus is trying to figure out what the hell is going on and where is she. But then I think as she's kind of feeling this sort of concern and feeling out kind of what's going on in general, there's like a little bit of a sadness that's sort of associated with him for some reason. She's feeling a lot of warmth, but then there's a little tinge of sadness on the corner. And then I think she kind of goes like, "You're still here."
he looks up at you and he looks at Brahmas with a question mark on his brow. And he goes, I know I pop in and out a lot, but where exactly did you think I was going to go? I'm not in the habit of, well, maybe I am in the habit of departing every once in a while. And he kind of chuckles and catches himself because has been times that he's taken off from the group to do side things. And in that moment, you remember that, Silwyn. You do remember there were times where Bastille took off to do personal things and wasn't around. You get his sarcasm. It just dawned on you. It's a weird sensation. Okay? And as that happens, you hear heavy steps outside of the door. He says, if you're able, I'm going to try to help heal this one. And he pulls out his daggers, Bastille does, and he lays them down on the table, and you can see a celestial kind of glow. He is a celestial warlock. And he is beginning to summon up what little healing properties he has to try to bestow on the cleric. And he says, that'd be Valdera. At the front door, you may want to help her bring some of those supplies in. And he's kind of grinning. When he says the name Valdera, I want you to do a history check with disadvantage.
12 and 17, so 12.
You do not know who he's talking about. Isn't that awesome, Jeremy, how this works? It's neat. You do
she's
not
like,
know.
Okay.
He looks at you because you and her, well, you don't know this. He looks at you very suspiciously. And he looks at Brahmas and he goes, holy fuck. He says, Merc, how bad did she get whaled out there?
I think she's like, yeah, I'm sorry. I will do better on that. I'm gonna supplies, right? And then I think she's been like,
just maybe not now's the best time. Merc, help me out here. He says, you're seeing this go down. You're seeing she doesn't know who Valdera is. And you hear another knock on the door. And you hear outside, come on, for fuck's sake.
I got it. And then I think she sort of like goes over to open the door.
Okay. As you do, character introduction. Brahmas, after that, I'll let you and Danny have a conversation about what's going on. Or you and Bastille. I'll stay in character, I swear to God. Kiltusk, you're seeing all this kind of go out of the corner of your eye, and you are starting to put together that there are things that Silwyn's not grabbing here. You haven't been around them very long, but you know that she should know who Valdera is. Okay? Just for a point of reference. As you go over to open up the front door, there is a woman that's about 6'2", that is wearing. She looks. Have you looked at the picture of Valdera? Do you know what she looks like? Mm-hmm. Okay. The shaved head on both sides, the mess of tangled hair that goes up to an angle, comes down the back. The dark kind of warrior chick kind of look to her with the scars on the side of the face from a chimera claw that went across her. She has the large metal sculptured head of a chimera on her shoulder. She has scales and some of the fur of the lion part of a chimera put across her back in a one-shouldered kind of cloak. Her armor is made practically like the Monster Hunter video game of a chimera. It is her victory armor and has a large great sword on her back with runes that seems to be an ancient relic, more weapon. When you look at it closely, because of your ability with relics, go ahead and roll me a check for that, and I'll tell you how much you're able to notice about her blade.
I rolled a 7.
Nope. No idea. You know, it looks sharp. Okay? I'll even say she was pushing in the door with her back, so the sword across her back is the first thing you would have saw. And you look at it and you can see strange writing on it, almost in some kind of slash like Persian looking writing, but you can't make it out. As you go to read it and you're like, she turns around and she has a handful of things that she has scavenged off of not only displacer beasts that we fought, but she also has pieces of Vasilian fins and skin out there and things like that. And she has collected different pieces of stuff, and she was harvesting these monsters that were fought the episode before. And she comes in and she backs in. She goes, hey, she goes, you see a place I could sit some of this stuff down?
I think like at this point, the only person she's 100% sort of comfortable with at this point is Brahma's Merc, and then like with Bass, like maybe like I think it's sitting at like 70-80%, where it's like, yeah, mostly but not completely certain at this point. So I think she does like the polite sort of closed smile, like and then she tries to help and like kind of move stuff, like grab stuff and like
you know what, this is great because okay, this is awesome. Roll a strength check, please.
Okay.
Jeremy, I think you know where I'm headed with this. This may trigger a memory in her. Is that not great how that works?
It's my modifier. My modifier is
you have a
once.
plus
That's
1.
rolled an 11, so that's another 12.
Okay, so a 12. With the amount she goes to hand you and your head, when you go to grab this stuff, it pulses in your head and gives you a headache, and I'm going to say you drop damn near half of it with a 12. Valdera is a very strong female warrior, and she keeps forgetting that you are in the state you are. At this time, I want you to roll me a regular history check without disadvantage, because this may trigger something that happened in the past. I hope it does, because Jeremy was there and it was funny.
16.
16? Okay, that works. You seem to remember something like this happening almost exactly. Was this Caliban that was handing her stuff, Jeremy, or was it Valdera? Okay. You can remember.
Pretty sure it was Caliban.
You can remember Valdera standing in the background, her with the large lion head on her shoulder. Okay. And you can remember a shaved headed, Earth Genasi monk-looking tattooed character, large, handing you a armload of what is almost identical, similar stuff in a city. And when they went to hand it to you, you failed completely. Pretty much half this shit fell on you in an almost identical scene that happened in some city off in the distance in your memory. And it triggers you for just a moment to that memory. And when I give you these memories, Bella, just try to, that's the new pieces of stuff that you're remembering. That's really cool because that shit happened in game like 4 months ago. And it's funny that we're reenacting that moment right here. It just happens to fall into that way. It's good stuff. So you have that moment of recollection. Does that have, do you say anything at that moment, or do you just keep it to yourself and move on?
I think she makes like a noise like like I don't think she like verbalizes it, but it's sort of like that weird like deja vu-esque like like type thing, but then like the okay, let me focus on what's going on and try to pick stuff up again.
As soon as you bend over to start picking things up, Bastille is over on one knee to your side helping collect things, and he's going like, that's too much. He looks at you and he goes, you really did push yourself too far, didn't you? And he gives you a very knowing look back and forth. Now, I don't know if I explained this to you, but you and Bastille would physically, he appears to be older than you, but not by leaps and bounds. You're maybe one generation apart, not a lot. Where Bastille is younger for who he is. Okay? But so you don't have this whole fatherly thing like, Merc does. This would be more like a brother or a really good friend. The chemistry between you two to this point.
Brother, uncle, it sounds like.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He has that. You guys are on the same level. You know what I mean? It's not like he's like, oh, you kids from the 80s suck. It's not like that. So, damn baby boomers. So anyway, he has that moment with you, and he says, as he's helping pick that up, Valdera looks over and you can see her boots standing close to you. And you can feel her heavy breath as she's looking down over top of you, rain dripping off the fur on her cloak and stuff on the stone pieces of the floor. This floor is intricate pieces of stone that have been put together in a nice tile-like pattern on the floor, packed in with a thick like clay substance in between them. And she says, what happened to you out there while I was tending to the mess that Bastille left me once again? As she sarcastically says that, Bastille looks up over and he says, I don't know why you decided you needed to harvest everything. I mean, it was dead. It wasn't like it was going to just run off. And he's kind of looking at her, and the two get into this bickering thing. She starts, well, I wouldn't have had to if the people would have helped me. And the two start into this bickering off conversation in between each other.
And then he's like,
Yeah.
Sorry about that one. I will try better next time. And then I think she'd try to like doing the polite like, and then like tries to scoot off as quickly as she can.
As you stand up and go to scoot off, you feel a weak hand grab onto the side of you. And you hear that large prehistoric, like toucan bird just kind of chime in, right? Because that's how prehistoric birds sound when Brian Kynes does them. So yeah, right, whatever. Caw-caw! So as that happens, you see the frail hand of that Atlantic cleric, that female. That very beautiful, well-kempt, long, dark hair that has been dyed blue in 2 streaks from her temples throughout, with all the different fake jewelry and beads and things in this long weave of nest of long hair, as she looks out to you with gray eyes. They are gray for her nationality. Now remember, they look a mix between Native American and ancient Aztec, which would be Mesoamerican or ancient Mexican. So they have that kind of look to them, that hue to their skin, that kind of skeletal structure. She's quite beautiful. Almost like a Pocahontas type looking kind of woman with long, almost like starved supermodel kind of look with deep cheekbones and a long neck, a little bit longer than usual. Where she would have a different 3 or 4 different necklaces on the neck, which seems maybe it had something to do with its length and things of that nature. And she has a weakened hand, and she's reached out and she's touched your arm as you went to walk off. And she says in a very weak voice to you as you go to skim her off away from this argument. She goes, she looks up at you with one eye, the other one's swollen closed, which stirs you for a moment, that someone of such natural beauty and complexion has such a horrendous swelling on one side of her face. You can see dried blood on the cracks of her lips. And she looks at you and she goes, your mind will recover, child. Give it time. The Scion, she's still learning. I'm so sorry. Are you okay? And with that, the room kind of goes quiet and listens to the cleric's words as she talks to you with what little bit strength she has left. What is Silowin saying to this? As she is lightly touching your arm to have this moment with you from the table as she's still laying.
Thank you.
Awkward. Right?
And then I think she does like okay.
If you go ahead.
I think
in that awkwardness, that's what's great about D&D. Awkwardness is role playing too. You don't have to say shit. If Silowin doesn't know what to say, Silowin doesn't know what the fuck to say, which is great in this moment. So with that, Jeremy, I will give you a moment to interact with the room here, how you see fit. And you're standing there, you're hearing these things happen. I want to give you the chance to intervene. And if there was something you would like to go back and mention too, as we were progressing this through, thank you for being patient and letting me get through that. What is it you would like to do in this moment? You're seeing these things happen. Got an awesome scene unfolding here. Go ahead and what you doing, buddy?
I think his main focus is going to be on Bast, just kind of cluing him in on everything that kind of transpired up to
Out
this
there.
point.
Yeah, I'm with you. So you want to pull him to the side, or you want to have the conversation, or do you want to? Because I want you to have fun with the role play, or do you want me to just? You want to explain to me what you're doing? I'll let you have the moment if you'd like. I can do Bast. I can do Valdera. DM, baby.
Yeah. So he would walk up to Bast and Valdera, who are bickering, and
As they would.
yeah, tap Bast on the shoulder and just kind of weakly nudge. It's like, a word, please.
Valdera turns and she's fully like, and now the pack horse looks to, oh, and she was getting ready to give you shit because you weren't helping carry anything in because you're really good at that. But she sees the sincerity in you and you say a word. Do me a persuasion check with advantage.
22.
14. You beat her. You strong-willed bastard. With that, Bastille whispers something in her ear from that moment as he stands up. You believe that he's telling her that you stepped out. And she gives you a look. She nods, open mouthed, and gives you a kind of a proud kind of look. She says, what is it you need to discuss? I'm just trying to, you know me. She says, and she looks you off and she's brushing off some of the clumps of mud and she's picking it out of you and flopping it down on the ground. Valdera is as you're going to speak to her and stuff like that. Go ahead, Brahmas. She's trying to clean up the exterior of you as you're speaking.
I think it's probably the most caring he has seen Valdera.
Yeah. And in that moment, Bastille's kind of twirling this phantasmal dagger through his fingers as he's looking at you and trying to focus on things. It's somewhat transparent. As he's looking at you and he pulls down the mask and stuff, takes it off, wrenches the rain out of it, and for one of the first times in a long time, pulls down the hood to show the pointed ears, to show the long black hair, to show the face without the mask on. It's around the bottom of his neck like a scarf at this point. And he just goes back to twirling around that kind of phantasmal dagger. And you have his and Valdera's attention.
He looks over at Silouan, who's preoccupied with the cleric, right?
Mm-hmm. That'd be nice for this moment. We'll do that, okay?
And would it be fairly clear at this point, given the relationship between Brahmas and Silouan, that he can tell she is addled in some way?
Yes. And I'm not trying to push that for the agenda. I think the natural course of things that's kind of happened over this last 3 hours or so really point in that direction. So, yeah,
Brahmas would be familiar
checks.
with concussions and confusion and things like that, I think.
Yeah.
I think he could tell that this is beyond.
Yeah. Something ain't right.
Yeah. So he'd look over his shoulder back at Silouan and then back at Bast and Valdera. I don't know what Silouan was caught in, but I can tell something's not all the way there. She's looking at people that she knew as if they were complete strangers.
Valdera
and
gets
even
a stern
her
look.
wits about her are thin.
And Bastille is realizing, and he kind of shakes his head as Danny would. He's like, "You didn't see it. You didn't see what happened. She tried to descend upon the creature, and she got caught in some kind of blast. The one that you passed out on the front porch And Valdera kind of gives a knowing nod, and she says, "Yeah, I hadn't had a chance to ask about all that yet. What is that exactly?" Kill Tusk, in a moment you can intervene into this and explain what you know about her, the Scion, if you'd like to. You can jump into this conversation at any minute if you would like, just for role playing purposes. I like people coming from all directions. It makes a nice scene. Yes, Bella, what's up?
Um, is it okay if maybe Solon kind of has sort of put the stuff that she was carrying down and kind of maybe quickly wanders over and goes to like Brahmas and be like, I'm gonna find somewhere quiet. And then I think she may kind of like take off a little bit to try to find a little spot away from everybody.
Okay, let's say the fireplace over there.
Mm.
Because this place has a large stone fireplace, and it hadn't been started yet because they were just now getting here. So as you wander over that way, you would see a stack of wood, things in purpose and stuff. And you've actually never made a Lowlanders fire before. You've never needed them in your city. This would be a good opportunity for you to fuck around with that and see if you can't burn the place down. Right? So here in a minute, we'll do this as you're taking your pause, and then we'll roll a check to see how well Silouan does at camping. And then, right? Because, I mean, fuck's sake, weirder things have happened. Kill Tusk, you can jump in and explain shit at any moment you want to. Okay, just raise a hand and be like, I'm in. And Jeremy, continue, please.
But given that, Bast and Valdera know him well enough, they could kind of read somewhat of the expression through voice, and they could tell that Ramos is significantly worried.
Okay.
He just says that whenever that thing that attacked, I put my head down and my shield up. I gave everything I had to hold it off. When I looked up, it was gone, silhouette on the ground. When she came to, she was not herself.
Celine intervenes at this point, the one with the raven mask, the one we've discussed before. And as she is helping the cleric sit up halfway on the table in the middle of the place like that, Celine looks over and she says, Silouan did not simply fall onto the ground into the mud in the way that you've seen her. She was caught in some kind of blast. I would have to assume it's some kind of magical psionic power. She goes, she'll be fine, but I wouldn't rush it. She says, I would say the person that could answer our questions best would be is it the laddie you call them? Outside. And maybe even possibly a way to help alleviate the situation? But I don't know, I'm just speculating. With that, the cleric speaks. The female. And she kind of, and you can hear her breathing raspy. She has broken ribs. You can tell. You've seen warriors, Merc, you've seen this kind of shit. You've seen people hit with war machines and stuff that happened at the foot of the Mountain of Tears. You've seen these kind of things. And her toughness with that large swollen side of her and the blood drawn on her lips and shit for her, she doesn't have armor on. She has a wardrobe. She is all show. You don't know how she's alive. She's made of fucking leather. You know what I'm saying? To be able to survive that shit. And as she does that, she grips onto her chest and her shirt. And she takes a deep breath. And she goes, just a minute. She says, Karsu doesn't always mean exactly what it is that she has done. Understand that the psionic blast to chase off the Vokilikan was meant for a creature of that size and structure. not for a young female warrior to withstand. You are lucky that she is still here. As she holds her chest and coughs a few more times, Celine says, Dearie, you need to just take a break. I wouldn't speak anymore right now. As Celine tries to comfort her a little bit more. With that, Kiltusk, is there anything you'd like to add at this point?
Yeah, I would probably like talking to Pursue at least. Like,
Karsu was outside, correct?
yeah,
Okay.
I would probably go check on her, see how she's doing, and like make sure and like ask her, like, has did I ever hear if Darius and them ever came back?
No, not yet, but we'll get to that right before we end tonight. Okay?
Yeah, then I'll go to Karsu knowing that she's the only able warrior to tell me how things have been going.
Okay. So as you wander outside, you see Karsu has made her way up to the side of the front overhanging porch of this place with the rain coming down heavy off the thatched roof, and all the leaves and things are hanging over the edge of this place where it's kind of been woven together out of materials from the forest and jungle. And she's standing there underneath of that, and most of the paint is washed off of her. And like I say, she's skimpily clad. It's very traditional for a Scion to be very close to Mother Earth. And she is wiping the rain off of her head. And as she wipes it down, she lets the rain kind of fall over top of her face as she's looking up for a minute. She turns over to you, and you can see that in her right hand are 3 small stones that seem to be glowing in different colors. Each one of them are spinning around the circle in her hand above it as if they're levitating. Okay? And as she turns to you, she simply moves her fingers like she's summoning them off, and they fly around and they go around her neck, and they land here, here, and here, and a bracelet appears in between all the stones, turning it into what looks like a necklace, appears, and the 3 stones hang around her neck. And she looks at you, and with a blink, she looks up at you, and she's looking at you, although you know she can barely see you, with the hazed over blue centered eyes that look like a person with major cataracts or is blind. And she says to you, she goes, how are the others doing?
Kotos will probably reply saying they're trying to get a grasp of the power and tending to Rusi's wounds.
Okay. She goes, Rusi is strong. I have seen her survive much worse than that. I worry about Chakoma. And she looks over her shoulder. She goes, I do not hear them. She goes, should we go out and pursue them?
Do you believe Kotos would probably be asking for probably be asking do you think they are still in danger or are in danger?
Kiltusk would know enough that Broaxel and those 2 animals, plus Darius running after a running Weaver Vasilian, if it's the way it looked, they would be in no problem whatsoever. So Kiltusk wouldn't believe that there was any issue, especially Broaxel is a bad son of a bitch. He's tough as nails, man. So I don't think you would have that concern. So maybe that, let's say that thought would have went through your mind, but I don't think those words would have left your lips just knowing what you know about them, Colby.
Okay.
So you would have that moment where you're kind of like, oh yeah, right?
And then he would actually reply saying, I know the one who I've known briefly of what the one outsider can do,
Okay.
and with including Broxel, they should not be in harm's way or in that deep of trouble.
Okay. She says to you, she goes, "So are these the ones that you discovered when you were out on your own?" She looks over to you and she reaches out and she touches the large bone-like structured monster call that you have that hangs off your side. She goes, "We heard your call, but some of us were afraid to. Roaxel," she stops herself, "told me not to reply because he was afraid the Vizillion were closing in closer to us. Although Shakoma argued that you need to know that you weren't alone. Turns out, Bro Axel was right." So when they called out, when you were doing that call off the airship, you're connecting dots here. There was only a reason why you only got 1 or 2 calls back. The rest of them were afraid to give their location because they knew they were being hunted by the Vizillion. And that starts to make sense to you now, okay? She goes, "But I'm glad you came in and sought us regardless of the danger."
Joe Tusk would also admit to her that it's also kind of his fault that the Brazilian found them when they did, because the ship he found attracted them because of the dead fish that was on it.
She looks at you, and here's the thing about her. She has really immature moments, but there is something very psychiatrist about this young 15, 16-year-old Atlati female warrior. Um, there are things that she's very immature about, but when it comes to being a source of comfort for the other warriors and things like that, she's wise beyond her years. It's strange, almost like a I don't know how, like a scion. I mean, it describes itself practically, and in that, she says to you, she goes, "If I had it my way, I would say lead them all to us. Lead them out. Let them fight on our terms." She goes, "I tire of our numbers dwindling. I tire of being the only one left that can steer those creatures clear of us." She goes, "There's hardly anything left, Kiltusk. There's barely anything left, and what we seek is buried under inland ocean. Because of our dams and because of the destruction that these Vizillion have brought upon us. Are we any closer to being able to seek out the Great Dam? Were you able to scout out and find anything? Bro Axel and the others weren't able to find anything as of this morning. What do you reply?"
Well, does Tusk know if he has any ability to like visit memories of people, like to help them explore their own memories? Because as you said before, Brahmis was like he would come up faintly in my own memories. Like I have seen him before in like this dance.
Oh, when I was saying that, you've seen things like Brahmas. I was referencing
Okay.
something that really happened to you. You've seen in this place, in this construct, I don't want to give too much away to everybody, you have seen things that look like him in ancient structures. That's what you've seen.
Okay.
But you, when you were out in your adventures, you came across them in the ship. You didn't find what you were looking for. You didn't find the source of this flooding. You didn't find it.
Yeah. Okay. Then, with you clearing that up for me, Kotas would probably say, "No, I have not found anything hopeless that cause yet. But at
She,
least we,
go ahead. Sorry.
but I at least have found more warriors to hopefully aid our cause and to help us find this thing faster.
She looks past you kind of at the doorway behind, and she says, I find it strange that now, of all times, people of the New World have found themselves in our broken lands. She goes, I also know that there are no coincidences in this life. And she says a word and holds up her hand and does a symbol, saluting her god in that way as she says these things. With that, in the distance, you can hear slopping footsteps. And you could hear Loki's claws on the floor inside the cabin, kind of coming up, and you would hear the head kind of like and rub on the door. In the inside, Loki has sensed that something is coming back, and you are hearing it as well. Okay, we'll stop on that moment. Corey, we'll do a little bit of you on your way back, and we'll end for tonight. Okay.
Word.
So, true that. So, you have came back quite a ways, and I want to give you a chance, because it's 10:12. I will go till 10:30. Okay. I want to give you a chance, if you want to question or talk to Broaxel, this large jaguar druid, practically, that did this druid shape that goes from one to the other, and ask things if you would, or maybe I might ask something of you as we are going along this path on our way back. Is that cool?
So I want to clarify something. How long is the path?
Well, it was kind of in the heat of the moment. I will say you were at least as they took off and were into the woods and everyone was moving at the same time, you did your leap, which was so many feet, and then you ran your full action, which was another 70 foot, and then you were right up on them, and then they were trailing this thing. You ran for a bit, and then it stopped at the riverbank. So I'm going to say at least between the time that you were able to dash up and kind of catch up to them, and then that extra distance that you kind of took that we didn't really talk about much once you were within 40 foot and they came up to that bank and saw this, I'm going to say 200 yards.
Oh, so we make it back in like 15 minutes.
15 to 20 minutes, because you stopped there for a minute. You had that long interrogation on the bank.
Yeah.
And all that scene, and then he's loading up and you guys are kind of trudging back through the mud and through the dense jungle with the very heavy rain coming down. So, explore the space a little bit. You've got some moments here to have a conversation if you'd like.
Yeah. So I just want to get the timing, because obviously, if it's an hour, that's a long time.
Yeah.
I'd imagine like at first it would be quiet from Darius, and at least as he's kind of collecting his thoughts, like he's trying to piece things together. So
as you're
we
quiet, let me see if he starts a conversation.
Okay.
No, with a natural 2. He is stoic and marching along and looking straight forward with a very stone face, holding on to Rowdy, guiding him back. He is focused. Yeah. Okay.
So as Darius is he's just piecing things together. He's like, we're in an unknown land. We've got warring factions, basically. We've got these Atladi people that he has, other than the one person that, kind of came asking for help, aka Kiltusk, he doesn't really know much about them. Right. And then, other than, and I'm kind of throwing this out there to you as a DM, so you can, because Darius has no need, he has no reason to get in between this battle, right? So I imagine after a few minutes of pondering this, he would probably just kind of like, he's gonna more blurt it out. It's not really towards anyone specifically, but he's just like, I don't even, why the hell are we here? What's the point? If to intervene in this war that we could just fly off.
As you're saying that, he slows a bit. He doesn't turn towards you. And you can see the jaguar head kind of come down, the heavy rain kind of running off of the top of the mask that he has on. And he would say in a deep voice, fly off to where? Where do you go that the pains of your gods don't follow? Where do you go where the shadow doesn't stand behind the sun? Where do you go to hide from the fault of your ancestors? I wish to know of such a place.
I gotta remember that one. He writes it down in his book. You know, I I don't know how to answer that question. I have nothing to do with. I have other pressing matters to attend to than to deal with this. We came here. Correct me if I'm wrong. We specifically came here because we're trying to stop the beast, or we're trying to get something from the beast.
It was part of the contract. What you overheard when they were talking and drinking and stuff, and Valdera talking about the monster calls and stuff on the ship that night, was that they took up a bounty on written by someone desperate from these lands to come and help vanquish this rock, or at least try to help figure out a way to dispatch of it. And there is a lot of amazing things and materials that can be got from this rock, including, but not limited to, the possibility of one of its eggs. And there are things here for quite a bit of money. And then we found out from other parts of this information that there is a reason that this rock has been terrorizing this, and we believe that there's one sect of these people that are using the rock being back into this island and terrorizing the people. They're using it as a political power to be used against the people here, because there is half of them that believe it is the embodiment of a deity, a very cruel deity that needs to be fed and needs to be catered to and sacrificed to. And there is another section of people that realize the creature to be what it is. And those people wish to have the thing driven off, or some kind of something happen to make the land be at peace again without the influence of this large avian predator. Okay?
Right. So we have cultists, and then we have...
Kind of. In Darius's mind, that's kind of the gist. That's as much as you've got of it as what Valdera has put down, because you weren't part of the original group. You just jumped into this. That's what you, I will say, a collection of things that you've heard drunk Valdera talk about at the ship. You heard the other ones. You know, you've heard, oh, god damn it, Aeolus, the ship captain of the Lilong. You heard him saying things like, my job was only to get you all here. My job had nothing at all to do with traveling into the woods and hunting birds. And you would hear bits and pieces and would have put that much together.
Yeah. So, as he mentions these proverbs of gods and ancestors, you know, I'm not here for the words of false prophecies or the beliefs of men who knows why they believe these things. I'm simply here to rid these lands of the beast, to fulfill the contract, to move on. Do you believe that the beast is that of a deity, or do you believe it is a pester to your society?
He pauses for a moment because he's trying to think of a way to explain this to you so you would understand. Taking into consideration what you just said, this large jaguar-like druid answers with a question. Okay? Decide how I want to pull this off. Let me think. Okay. So the exact question was again, spell that out for me in layman's terms.
Yeah, the gist is he's trying to see whose side this guy's on. Is he a cultist, or is he trying to rid the land of this rock?
Okay. You're just here to get off. You're just here to do this. That's what you were
Yeah,
pretty much
yeah.
saying.
He's
Okay.
he's laying it out that
Okay.
this is a job to him, has nothing to do with gods or prophecies or ancestors. It's a job. We're gonna do it. We're gonna move on.
I know
What
my
side
answer.
are you on?
He says to you in heft and pride as he straightens his demeanor up just a little bit. The Atlati believe that all things great and terrible in this world are a part of a test. And he goes, and those follow you wherever you go. He looks over to you for just a minute and he looks deep into your eyes. He says, we have chosen not to run from ours, but to face them head on. He goes, if this creature, this beast, this Quetzalcoatl, and he calls it by its true name that you've heard spoke a few times, and he goes, is our chance to show those gods that we do not waste the gift that they have given us. Every battle against a true force of nature is a chance to be reborn a hero. And this is a grand opportunity. You look to move past this. We at Lati look to embrace it.
I haven't written a song about a hero in a long time. The only songs that come from my heart are dark, almost soulless. I couldn't tell you what a hero looks like these days, but I have my own challenge that I no longer run from, I'm running towards. And this is but a barrier impeding me on that path. So if you are going to be one to help remove that barrier, I will remember that.
He kind of heartedly chuckles a little bit inside of his chest. Like, you're beginning to understand. That's all he says.
Yeah. I feel like they both do that whole manly, like, I got my shit out.
Yeah, right. Or yeah. I worked my shit out. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
In that moment, we begin breaking the wood line and getting back into the camp area around where the lodging is, okay? Where the hunting lodge would be. At that moment, Kiltusk, you would see the party return, and you would see that the Weaver, the Vasilian Weaver, was captured and is laying limp across the back of Rowdy. And as they are making their way back, you can see that Broxel has taken on his true form and is having a conversation with Darius. And with that, I'd say we'll go ahead and end tonight's episode. And we can pick up with everyone else getting together inside the cabin. Oh, last thing before we go, roll a survival check, Silouan. I gotta see what happened. I gotta see if the cabin's on fire. Sorry, man. I gotta see what's going on. Keeltusk, you're out there, and the Scion's kind of like smelling smoke. How'd you do?
Rolled a 4.
Rolled a 4. So, Silouan, describe to me what a 4 looks like when you're trying to start a fire inside of a place when you've never done it before in a fireplace.
So,
Explore the space.
so I think it could go one of two ways, and I'd like to get your thoughts on which way.
Absolutely. I'd love to.
Because I feel like it takes a degree of skill to get any sparks to even get it to the point of being a fire.
I get it. It does.
I don't think 4 would get her there, so it's more maybe just like throwing sticks together and trying to figure it out, or like, rubbing a stick together and nothing's type happening, as
Yeah.
opposed to like, I'm setting the building on fire. Like, I feel like you need a little bit more skill in order to actually affect it, because it's not like a lighter or something like that when it's easy. It's like, maybe like, oh, flint and steel, like the flint thing I saw, they like hit it together and then sparks and then kindling go, and then she made literally just get like a rock and another rock and be like,
Okay. So I have something for you. Do me a favor. Roll a Arcana check for me, please.
okay.
This would be a good way to explain something to your character.
2.
A 2.
Mm-hmm.
Not today.
Not today.
We'll explain it some other time. You seem to have the deep in recess of your mind, you're familiar with fire somehow.
Mm.
You've dealt with it before somehow. And you get this huge, massive pulse of pain from the headache and stuff like that. And you can hear the ringing. You can hear the sound of that Vakilikon roaring in your ear. And it changes, it gets you off your path of thought, and you are not sure. And we'll get back to the whole clicking the rocks thing. So that's where we'll pick up next time. Unless there's something more you want to add to that or say, or do you like that?
A part of me kind of wants for her to kind of just be sort of overwhelmed by everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And just maybe kind of wander over to Brahmas and be like, I want to go to my study. I want to go home. Just like defeated and tired and weak and exhausted and just in pain, I think.
Brahmas, Merc, what are you saying? And she comes up in the middle of you having this conversation about her with everybody else. Good night, babe. You have a good night. I'll see you. I'm almost done. Okay. And curious.
He would look at Bast, look at Valdera, and knowing that it's not something that she has, like she's never to a point where she feels this defeated.
She's
Any
never
other time-
asked this in front of people either. This is
Right.
very strange.
And given, she's only ever asked to go to her training ground. It's never been to, I need a place.
A place
to
of
be.
refuge. Yeah.
So that alone would catch Merc off guard.
Okay.
And I would imagine that it'd probably catch Bast and Valdera off too. And he would give Silwyn kind of an unspoken affirmation. That's just kind of a, as you wish.
Okay. I will let you in the next week decide what that looks like. If you want to perform that right in here and freak these fucking laddie out completely, or how you want to do this. But we will let everyone kind of rest on these things, and we will do this again next Sunday if we can. I know, Belly, you're not able to join us next Sunday, correct?
Mm-hmm. Correct.
That'll be fine. We'll do this, and then when you're inside of Brahmas, that'll be a nice way for you to kind of be out of the next session also. So theatrically, that works for us. It's well done. Really cool.
I know.
Yeah, right on, right? Hey,
That was
do
the
it.
purpose.
Do it. Give me one of these. Do one of these. Just pat yourself on the back. Feels good. It's great stuff. With that, I'm Brian Kynes, everyone. Thanks for hanging in. Got a lot of really good role play out of tonight. Some things that needed to happen. And there's even going to be more of that in the next episode. Start opening up some doors, getting some explanations, and getting to the meat of why the fuck all this is really going on. So, once again, thanks for watching. I had a good time. And we'll go ahead and stop recording and have our traditional bullshit session for as long as we can bear it. And hopefully we'll see you guys next Sunday. Take care, everyone.